Good stuff. Big weekend coming up. College hoops, football championships, conference championships. Packers-Bears week culminating. By the way, don't forget, we are going to be live. We're going to be at the Shy Bar inside the Sheraton Riverwalk, the Grand Riverwalk Hotel, the Sheraton Grand. Love that place. Going to be down there this coming Sunday, the Green and Gold postgame show emanating live from there. We are going to be down there for the game, myself, Mike Clemens. So pay attention and come on down. If you're in the Chicago area, and even if you're not going to the game, come on over, and we'll be chatting after the game. So you can swing by and say hi, get yourself a cocktail or maybe something to eat, something like that, and come on by. Should be a lot of fun. Ben Kenny, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm splendid, Bill. I can almost taste the Irish coffee tomorrow morning, waking up to watch some football, some real football, as some have told me.
Yeah, well, that's what they're calling it anyway, right? Real football.
Well, my thought is if the Americans are going and beating everyone's asses and all of the good European teams stink, then they have to call it soccer.
Right.
Because it's not even our sport, right?
Correct. You are correct. I know a lot of people opening up early tomorrow, bars and such, for this game. So I know there is a genuine excitement for it, and hopefully the Americans win. Tonight, you've got Utah and USC in the Pac-12 championship game, and that could have some bearing on the Final Four. So we're going to watch that game with a little bit of intent. Then you've got the Dr. Pepper Big 12 Championship, TCU and Kansas State tomorrow. You got the SEC Championship, LSU taking on Georgia, number 1 in the country. You've got the American Athletic Championship, Central Florida and Tulane. Tulane 18 in the country, Central Florida 22nd. And then the Big 10 Championship, you've got Purdue and Michigan going at it. That's at Lucas Oil Stadium down in Indianapolis. And the Subway ACC Championship taking place, and that is North Carolina and Clemson. So we got good football tomorrow, good football tonight, football on the pitch tomorrow as well. And then you get into the NFL coming up this coming weekend. And here's the question. I took my car this morning. I don't know if I've gone through this or not, but a week ago, about 2 weeks ago, actually, did I tell you that the door handle came off? Have we been through this?
No, okay. I am interested. Were you slamming appendages?
No. It wasn't. Nothing like that. Actually, it was Kristen was leaving, and her coat was in the backseat of the car. And I was on the air. And she comes up, and she's kind of like out of camera shot off the side of the desk here, and sets the door handle to my car on my desk. I'm like, so I go to break. I'm like, what the hell? She goes, I just pulled it, and it came off. So the door handle came off my car. So it has been a process, because my door handle has to get painted. So you got to order the door handle. Then it goes to the paint department. Then they wanted to put the door handle on. Well, then everybody looks at the door handle. You got the door handle where it pops out, and then you got the little round piece on the other end, so it kind of blends into the car, and that's called the cap. Well, I didn't know. I don't do this for a living. I didn't know you had to order both pieces. So anyway, long story short was today I'm over at the dealership, and they're telling me what I got to do, and well, you got to get this piece painted now, and I don't know if we can get it done today. And it's like, okay, it's been a 3-week process just to get a damn door handle put on. But as I'm sitting there in the waiting room, there's 2 guys talking, and then a woman had come in with her kids, and she was just getting an oil change, and they're all talking about how big this week is. This is a big week. This is for the overall competitiveness between these two franchises. They are tied for the most victories in football in franchise history. The Packers and the Bears. Now, the Packers lead the series recently, but overall wins as a franchise, they are tied. So whoever wins this game, I mean, the Packers for a good portion of, almost 100 years have been trailing. And the Packers are finally catching up, and now they've got the opportunity as a franchise to take the lead over the Bears and actually have the most wins in NFL history. So is that what we're grabbing onto for how big this game is? Because at least then you've got that going for you. You're leading the series between these two franchises. You got that going for you. Is Ben, now you're from Philly. Does it matter if the Green Bay Packers have the most wins out of any NFL franchise?
So I've honestly been following this story all season. They had a chance to pass the Bears with each of their 5-game losing streak losses, but we didn't really talk much about it because it wasn't close to the big story. I don't know if I could speak for everybody else. I mean, the fact that it's the Bears that have it, like if you were passing the Cowboys, for instance, not the same level of interdivision hatred rivalry, right. I'm sure it means something. And then it's also what Grant was talking about on Wednesday night. It's just for bragging rights for the rest of the year to continue to push down little brother, even though little brother thinks that they have something going for next season.
Right. It is the Packers and the Bears. This 786 wins apiece, by the way. 786 wins apiece. And it's game number 206 in the NFL's oldest rivalry. The Packers, by the way, hold the edge in the rivalry. 104 wins, 95 losses, and 6 ties in this series, which includes 2 playoff games in which the Packers are 1-1. And overall, the Packers have won 7 straight against the Bears and 11 of their last 12. But is this the thing that people are grappling on? Because me personally, I know it's a little bit of pandemonium and pounding your chest. Hey, this is, we're the winningest franchise in NFL history. But for the most part, I don't know if anybody really cares. But I'll tell you this, the 3 people talking about it this morning, I guess they had heard it on the news. The 3 people talking about it this morning certainly cared. That was now that's something to play for. The season's pretty much over. Mathematically, you're not completely eliminated, but your hopes are pretty much dashed at this point. We all know that. You've got to have a lot of help go in your direction. But is this what we're now grasping onto? To me, it's a rivalry game. It's a rivalry game. It's a divisional game. It's 2 franchise bases that are basically 168, 180 miles apart, something like that, and maybe 200 miles apart when you talk about the actual cities. But the fan bases, between Milwaukee, we'll say the lowest portion, and we'll say Chicago is about 80 miles. So it's not like it's a dramatic difference, but there you go. So I guess that's what people are grasping onto. Me, I want to see the Packers get a win. I'm going to be really interested to see and listen when Aaron Rodgers takes the field every time he touches the ball. After the I own you comment, believe me, they are thinking about it. It's not going to be bad weather. So it's not going to be a completely cold or blustery, windy game that we're going to see punts going backwards and such as we've seen in the past in December. Nothing like that. So that's what we got to go. And Aaron Rodgers has played pretty well against the Bears. He's got 10 games with a passer rating of 125 plus against the Bears. That's the most by any quarterback against a single opponent. Now, will that happen this week? We'll wait and see. He's had some pretty good talent in the past. It's easier to register those games when you've got serious wideouts and such. But we'll see. We'll see. Good stuff. This is from Art. Art says, we are heading to Chicago. Does the Shy Bar have TVs there? Yes, they do. Art, we'll see you over there, man. And now Mike and I are both going to the game. So we won't be watching it in the Shy Bar. The post-game show will be live at the Shy Bar. So about 4th quarter, get out of there and then head back to the Shy Bar. And then we're going to have it all set up and ready to go. But just wanted to let you know. Not actually going to be in there for the game. We'll be at the stadium. But the stadium's not that far. It's a brief shot up the road. So we should be pretty good. There you have it. 877-1670, 877-867-1670. By the way, Packers 30-2 under LaFleur when they win the takeaway battle. So another key statistic to kind of latch onto is the fact that this Packers team has been pretty woeful at turning the ball over. And if they don't turn the ball over, you look at a couple of these games, you look at a game like the Jets, you look at a game like Detroit, not Buffalo, and not so much. They got beat pretty handily there. The Commanders, you look at those games, you don't turn the ball over or you garner a takeaway and win that battle, it's a whole different outcome. Suddenly you're looking at maybe a 7-win season, a 6-win season. You're still in the hunt. It's just, It's been a calamity of issues. Speaking of a calamity of issues, we are going to hear from Joe Barry today. Yep. Joe Barry spoke. He was at the podium. A head scratcher. I guess. So we're going to hear from Joe Barry coming up today, too. 877. Go ahead.
Should we get people's appetite started with a highlight from it?
Let's do this. Go ahead and drop some Joe Barry on us.
Okay. Here you go, people. Hold on to the steering wheel.
When it goes this way for a defense with such high expectations, obviously a lot of responsibility, right or wrong, is put on the coordinator. We're not behind the scenes, but I'm curious what you think have maybe been your shortcomings in this season, or things that you might have done differently if you could go back and start the season again.
Oh, I am a process-driven person, and one thing that you know about me is that I'm all about consistency. I'm going to show up exactly the same way every single day, and I'm going to preach the things that I believe in. I'm going to bring energy every single day, and the last thing that I'll ever do is second guess anything.
Not going to second guess anything. All right. Okay. There you have it, I guess.
Energy. A lot of energy.
A lot of energy. I don't see that. Ben, do you see a vast amount of energy coming out of Joe Barry? What's funny is he says that in a very monotone voice. I've got a vast amount of energy. I'm bringing it every day. I'm here. I'm telling you, what? Okay, but a vast amount of energy. We're going to hear from Joe Barry when we come back. Yes, we are. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. And when we go down to, when we head down to Chicago, it is going to be, we're going to have a good time, but it's going to be inside the Shy Bar, and it's all brought to you by the Green and Gold Postgame Show, brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. We'll be right back.
Covering with
Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Phil Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
How many times must we take this disgrace? Another Bears fan throwing insults in our face. The Packers are the greatest team to ever play the game. Even if from time to time they've been a little lame. How could you ever love a team with Jim McMahon? Not even Porky Pig was as big a him. They got a reputation that's mostly based on luck. The Bears still suck. The Bears still suck. The Bears still suck. The Bears still suck. The Bears still suck.
There you go.
Really, 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 really,
Place to get you kind of in the mood, you know? Kind of in the mood for what's to come. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to fire us up, please feel free to go ahead and do so. Phone calls wide open. Let's do this. This is from Mark, who says, hell yes, this matters. This is the Chicago Bears. It's a hell of a rivalry. Has been for a very long time. I got a lot of friends that live down in Chicago. We have bragging rights that go on this each and every year. And he says, I don't want to have to send down a case of beer to my buddies in Chicago. I've been collecting it for a long time. Well, hopefully the Packers get the win. Hopefully the Packers are able to continue on and at least not get mathematically eliminated for a while, which would be nice. Keep this thing interesting. Big weekend of football coming up when it comes to the NFL, but the Packers trying to just kind of hang around and stay there is it's at least and again, we went over this the other day about some of the games that you're kind of looking at now. You're kind of, I think, at this point, hoping that the New York Giants beat the Commanders and the Commanders take more losses. But some of the games you're paying attention to, the Buccaneers, you're hoping they go down. You're hoping that, let's see here, what were the other ones? You're hoping the Seahawks get beat by the Rams. You know, you're looking at these NFC teams that are above you, that the Falcons get beat by the Steelers at home. The Lions get beat by the Jaguars. I mean, you know, you're hoping that these NFC teams that are sitting there right now with a very similar record to you, or just a game or two better than you, continue to fall. And then your mathematics keep you alive. That's what you're hoping for. 877-867-1670. Fire it up. Hit us. Ben, so I know you're kind of the ilk of, let's get it over with. Let's not keep him alive. You want to see Jordan Love, right?
Yeah, for general interest. Sorry about that. For general interest, when I watch the team play, 100%. And like I get it. The ideal scenario is they keep winning and they get some momentum for next year. But as someone who wants to enjoy watching the games, at this point, the best story for me is what Love looks like. And that doesn't even mean Rodgers isn't the quarterback next season. I don't want this whole thing to get strung out. I would rather just, 1 week, I want them to beat the Bears. Maybe some other teams win. They're out of the playoffs, and then we could see Love.
Personally, I want to see the Packers remain. I look at it this way, because people say, well, if they make it, what are they going to do? Well, if they make it to the postseason, now think about this. If they make it to the postseason, that means they won out. That means they're one of the hottest teams in football. They beat the Bears. They beat the Rams. They beat the Dolphins. They beat the Vikings. They beat the Lions. After such a horrific run, of 1-7, going back to the Giants game, after a horrific run of 1-7, it means they won out. Their last 5 games, they're one of the hottest teams in football. And they beat decent teams along the way in back-to-back weeks in the Dolphins and the Vikings. So if they should win out and still make it, and I know that's a long shot, I'm just trying to keep at least a ray of sunshine within the program. But because I said 2-3 weeks ago, this thing's over. They look terrible. Their defense sucks. Joe Barry doesn't have an answer. You can't unsee Detroit. You can't unsee what we witnessed against the Commanders, against the Jets, against the Giants. You can't unsee it. So it's not going to happen. But as we sit here today, there's still that ray of sunshine. So, for the argument of, well, if they get there, they're not going to do anything. You don't know. Because that means they won a whole lot of football down the stretch. Does it mean that maybe you get Devondre Campbell back? You're not getting Rashawn Gary back, but maybe you get Devondre Campbell back. Stokes is still in a wheelchair. He's nowhere close to coming back, so that's not going to happen. But maybe a little bit of tinkering in the secondary. You get Devondre Campbell back. Who knows? Right? Dobbs comes back. Suddenly you actually have a tandem of receivers to be able to throw the ball to with a mix of veteran like Randall. Stranger things have happened, right? Aaron Rodgers finds his groove. Then you're good. You're a pretty good team. You're getting healthy. You got a little lucky because other teams are losing, and you're hot. Those are all the things that kind of stockpile themselves to make you a team that could, I don't want to say team of destiny, but make you a team that could be a pretty formidable foe going into the postseason. And let's be honest, between you, me, and the fence post, when you look at the NFL standings right now, and you look at some of the teams when you start talking about the playoffs, when you start talking about the playoffs, you'd basically at this point, if you were the last team in, the way things are shaping up, you'd be going against Minnesota. You'd have to go to Minnesota to get a win. The old adage is when it comes to rivalries, throw the records out the window. So who knows what can happen? I don't know. Just I'm trying to be a little more sunshiny today is what I'm trying to do. You like that,
Yeah,
Ben?
I guess
I'm coming in with a positive attitude. I'm the positive Pete. Positive Pete.
I have been talked. People are unhappy with me after the Fickell hire because I haven't blown much sunshine on people's butts when it comes to the future. But anyway, my problem with the Packers part and looking forward that they have a whatever % chance, the team still stinks.
Mm-hmm.
Like there has to be some level of like I'm not going to get out ahead and expect them to start winning because they're just not good,
Yeah.
So I guess I approach it with a glass mostly empty, and then once love starts, I get excited about seeing what he's like.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to fault you for that because you got a lot of wait and see, and like I say before, you can't unsee certain things. You can't unsee the depths of bad that this team has played with. Maybe think about it this way, and this is another good point, and this comes from Ray. Ray says, if the Packers get the win this week, Rodgers gets an extra week off to let that thumb heal up, and his accuracy will get better. There you go. Another level of optimism. Then again, they could not even play a game next week and all of a sudden be knocked out of everything. That can happen too.
They could be knocked out this weekend while they win. That's like they need everybody else to lose every game.
Right.
It's where they're at.
Yeah.
So
877-867-1670. Ricky says, I totally agree. They are a bad coached team. This one says, what is it? Bad Tom. Tom says, I need. He said, I need meth. I thought it said math. I'm trying to figure out the math for him. He says, I need meth to be that optimistic. Oh, man. Really? He also says, welcome to fantasy time. David says, oh my God, if they squeak by the Bears, we're going to have to listen to 2 weeks full of sunshine and unicorns with the bye coming up. Ain't happening. Well, like we said, I mean, in the next 2 weeks, they could still get a win against the Bears and be eliminated. Mathematically, you look at a couple of teams getting wins and suddenly they don't even have a shot. Giants get a couple of wins, Commanders get a couple of wins, Seattle over the next 2 weeks gets a couple of wins, and the Packers sitting there with 5 wins. You've got teams with 3 wins better than them on the outside looking in that they would have to all leapfrog to get in. It probably ain't going to happen. So you got.
I'll be the wet blanket. Don't worry.
Go ahead. Oh,
If the Packers win and they're still alive and there's sunshine everywhere, for people that want their wet blanket point of view, I will bring it.
Now here's the thing: if Detroit loses and the Packers win, Packers leapfrog Detroit. If Atlanta loses and the Packers win, Packers are tied with Atlanta If Seattle loses, the Packers are only one game behind Seattle. And if the Commanders lose, the Packers are 2 games behind the Commanders with 4 to play. They would still be fighting. So you would be looking for the Giants to get the win this weekend. Because right now, your 2 wildcard teams, Dallas, New York, and you're fighting for that other one. You got Dallas, New York, Washington, Seattle, Atlanta, and Detroit, all ahead of the Green Bay Packers. Detroit holds the tiebreaker. Washington holds a tiebreaker. New York holds a tiebreaker. I mean, in head-to-head. And I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on this, but what you're hoping for is Detroit gets beat, Atlanta gets beat, Seattle gets beat, Washington gets beat. All those teams then keep you mathematically alive if you get a win. If you don't get a win, then it's done.
I have it in front of me. The New York Times has a interactive article they put out yesterday. If the Packers win the remaining 5 games, Bears, Rams, Dolphins, Vikings, Lions, they then will only have a 48% chance and need many other results to go their way, including the Rams beating other good teams.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, I agree. I mean, they need a lot of help. They're in a huge hole. There's no doubt about it. They need a lot of help. But I'm just saying that if a few things break their way this weekend, and they do get a win, then at least there's another week to talk about all the possibilities, and you get a little bit more energy. And who knows? Maybe energy begins to turn into momentum. Can the Packers put back-to-back wins together? We'll see. I doubt it, but we'll see. And then they go from there. But you've got 2 big weeks coming up in back-to-back weeks with going on the road into Miami and then coming back home to face the Vikings. You would assume at that point, one of those 2 games are going to trip you up, but stranger things have happened if this team hits a roll. So we'll see. That's when we start playing. You're right, Ricky. We start playing a little Bon Jovi, Living on a Prayer. The ultimate anthem for non-talented
white. It's better than Don't Stop Believing.
You can play some Don't Stop Believing too.
Nope. Bad song.
Oh, my goodness. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Hey, by the way, you guys were breaking some news last night on Kenny and Heilprin, right?
Yes, a couple pieces. We were live at Monks and Sun Prairie, and the podcast is up now. We were joined by Wisconsin offensive lineman Tanner Bordolini, entering his 4th year. First piece of news he broke is that he will be returning for his 4th year.
Yeah.
Not transferring out, with Luke Fickell coming in. Talked a lot about impressions of Fickell and the reaction inside the locker room. He also said that Luke Fickell will be the head coach of the bowl game in a couple weeks.
So he heard that. He was told that Luke Fickell, going to be there. There you go.
Will be the head coach.
Will be the head
not
coach.
Not only there. Yeah.
Right. We'll be coaching the team. Yeah. So there you go. Some more news. I like it. You guys breaking that big show last night out at Monks. Good crowd.
Yeah. Solid crowd. A lot of people. I actually got more tweets during the show than I ever have of people listening, unhappy with the way Zach and I crafted questions. They wanted us to start asking about his false start on the final drive against Minnesota. I was like, come on,
you
people.
Don't do that. You don't do
that.
I mean,
have some sense of time and place.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't do that. And I know people want to say, but what is he supposed to say? If you ask the question and say, well, what happened there? He would say, you know what? I just got antsy and jumped.
Yeah.
That's it. There's not much more than that, right?
Yeah. But the podcast is up. Search Kenny and Heilprin. A lot of interesting stuff on what Fickell's like and how he fits with Wisconsin.
Okay. There you go. Let's do this. We're going to step out, take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll get to the phone calls. Let's phone lines wide open. Eric in Green Bay, you'll be first out of the chute. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Today we got Matt Mitchell coming up here in about 15, 20 minutes. We're going to have Matt Lepay, the voice of the Badgers, going to be joining us in about an hour from now. Mike Clemens, the final hour of the program. As always, we got to go in today. It's the wrap up of Rivalry Week. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show.
Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
This time of year, you're going to start looking for that special gift for that special person. And don't forget our friends at Kane & Kane, K-O-E-H-N, Kane & Kane Jewelers. Kane & Kane Jewelers, they're in West Bend. It's worth a trip. They're in West Bend. And Andy Kane and his wife, they do such a terrific job. And I've had numerous people that have gone there that have been unbelievably satisfied and just ecstatically happy with the treatment, with what their purchase was. Obviously, the price of their purchase, whether it's diamonds or gold or white gold, silvers, jewelries, whatever it happens to be, they have got so much up there, and it's worth the trip. And if you just want to see some of their inventory for yourself, go to Kane & Kane, or Kane Jewelry, excuse me, KaneJewelry.com, K-O-E-H-N, KaneJewelry.com. and take a look. But at the bottom of the page, there's the Buy Like a Guy podcast, and you can watch the podcast, and it kind of walks you through some of the steps of what you're looking for and how to go about shopping for those gifts for that special someone. So cool stuff from our friends at Kane and Kane Jewelers. 877-867-1670. Let's go to the phone calls. Eric, listening to us in Green Bay. Eric, how you doing, man? What's up?
Too much, man. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing well today. What's on your mind?
Well, what's on my mind is I'm finding it very interesting, the difference in how generations perceive or look at this team and the conclusions that they draw from it. The millennials, which I assume Ben there is, and Marcus here in town, will say things like, "This team's just terrible. They're terrible. They suck. Move on to Love. Let's see what we got in Love. Move on, see what we got in Love." And Marcus here has got a man crush on Love, whether he wants to admit it or not. But it's crazy.
So do I, for the record.
And then the Gen Xers. I'm a Gen Xer. Are you? I assume you're a Gen Xer, Bill. We have more of the frame of mind as, no, we've seen these players all play very, very well together as a team. I mean, they won 13 games per season, 3 seasons in a row. This is a very, very talented and very good team playing really, really lousy football, and far more willing to put it on the coaching than on the players. And certainly, as far as the rest of the season goes, it's pretty consistent between the millennials and the Gen Xers, as far as, like Mike Walsh said up here yesterday on the radio. He doesn't know why they would go on to Love if Rodgers is still healthy, even if they were numerically eliminated, because he wants Rodgers to be the one to train these young receivers up and build something with these receivers heading into next season. And that's pretty consistent among Gen Xers, whereas the millennials are more willing to just say, no, burn the season, put Love in there, and let's see what we got with Love. And of course, the guys older than us, Bill, they've been watching football since they had leather caps on and had to have day jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So they think they're all a bunch of spoiled wussies anyways. But anyways.
Well, they want Brett Favre, those people.
Right. There's some people that still want Favre to come back. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, Dan in Appleton here is the worst. He swears that we will never, ever win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. And it's like, Dan,
already did.
We did win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, and he was the MVP of said Super Bowl. Just shut up, dude. It's amazing. Amazing. Anyway, have a great weekend. Go Pack, man.
All right, buddy.
Bears week. Gonna go crack something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Appreciate it, man. I agree with him that there are some that are very quick to say, I'm going to jump. Let's go. It's on to the newest and the next, and it's a fast food world. Give it to me out of the window. Here we go. There are others that are just say, hey, whatever's best for the organization, let's be patient. Let's be patient. Let's do it that way. Whatever's best for the organization, let's be patient. And I think there's a fine line there. I don't think that, one is more correct than the other. I do think that, and I said this yesterday, and I've continued to preach this, the picking of Jordan Love threw this franchise into a bit of a tizzy. Because once you chose him, you got to figure out what you have in him. And that has been an area of, we'll say, contentiousness for quite some time, because you got to figure out what this guy brings to the table. Now, behind closed doors, absolutely. You already know. Those team members already know, for the most part. They know what's going on. Won't deny that. But I think they would love to see him a little bit more anyway in real life game situations. Be able to see him and what he can do one more time, 2 more times, 3, 4 more times, whether it's a half or a full game, to be able to see a couple more times for Jordan Love to get that opportunity. And I think we all would. If the season mathematically is done, there's no reason you can't do both. There's no reason you can't play both. You certainly can have Rodgers sit out for a game and just say, hey, if you are banged up, and who knows, maybe a lot of times as a head coach in the NFL, you think it's going to take care of itself, right? And the reason why is you can go out this Sunday, Rodgers could get hurt. Next thing you know, he's out for the next 2 games anyway. Love takes this one over, has 2 more starts before Rodgers comes back. And then you know. So sometimes it kind of takes care of itself. 877-867-1670. This is from Brian. Says, I got Rodgers starting in my fantasy league. Against this Bears defense, it can give up big plays. It's not a bad play, depending on who else you have, but that's not a bad play. We're going to step out. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little betting going into this weekend, and we'll get into it because got a big, big weekend, as we had mentioned before. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Wisconsin Harley-Davidson out in Oconomowoc. Go to wishd.com. That is wishd.com. Gifts, bikes, motor clothes, parts, you name it, they've got it, even gift cards. Go to wishd.com or stop in Highway 67 just south of 94. More after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
It's the Packers and the Bears, Sunday at noon at Soldier Field. Packers head coach Matt LaFleur says Green Bay's defense needs to do a better job tackling after missing 22 tackles against the Eagles.
Early on, especially, we were doing a great job, and we got to get back to that. And it's not just one guy, it's everybody, and making sure, again, maintaining your leverage on the ball and then having multiple hats at the party.
Packers wide receiver Christian Watson was named the NFC Offensive Rookie Player of the Month. Watson says it was Aaron Rodgers who told him he had won the award.
I was lifting in the weight room this morning. I hadn't checked my phone or anything before I went in there. And 12 actually congratulated me before I even knew. So he kind of, I don't want to say spoiled it for me, but he let me know. So, man, it was kind of a
Obviously, there's still some hope for us and everything going into this game, so we just got to go out there next.
That's Alan Lazard. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Welcome back to the program. Good to have you on board today. The Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. Bringing in Matt Mitchell now. Action Network. Old Boy Uncle Mitch over on Twitter is where you can find him. And glad to have you here on a Friday. Big weekend with college football and the conference championships, and then obviously the NFL. Matt, first of all, thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, I am thrilled to be here. It's one of my favorite weekends of the whole year.
So last night, obviously, the Bills, a lot of people thought the Bills would get over on the Patriots. They did after starting off 0-for. You've got now Josh Allen. I think he's 5-1 in his last 6 games against the Bills, or against the Patriots, I should say. So Patriots' hopes are fading. Bills re-solidifying themselves in the AFC. So let's go to the other game. That's a big one coming up this weekend. Kansas City on the road, giving up a couple of points to Cincinnati, a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. Let's talk about that.
An absolutely enormous game for both this weekend and for the larger picture in a loaded AFC playoff race as the number 1 seed, the only seed that gets the bye now, gets home field advantage as well. That's never been more important. And now we have 3 or 4 or 5 teams in an absolute dogfight to get that one. Cincinnati and Kansas City among them. The line's hovering under a field goal. It shows a true toss-up. Our experts are totally split. A lot of them like Kansas City in the first half, which is an interesting play. I think a lot of that plays into a revenge angle, which doesn't happen a whole lot in the NFL, but a absolutely crushing loss in the playoffs by Kansas City at the hands of the upstart Bengals last year. You think they come out, hair on fire. They have a distinct coaching advantage on their hands. So at the end of the day, I think Kansas City, Mahomes under a field goal, always a good bet. I couldn't blame you either way, but I think Kansas City, especially out the gate, seems to be the way to go.
Then you've also got a couple other games that we're paying attention to, and I'm only paying attention to them because the Packers are trying to keep their hopes alive, but you got a battle in the NFC East. The Commanders taking on the Giants. Washington, 2.5-point favorites, and not a lot of people believing that the Giants were for or are for real.
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of put up or shut up game for the New York Giants. And, I mean, Heineke's a great story, better than Carson Wentz. He's done a wonderful job in Washington. He's a great story. He's still not much of an NFL quarterback, though. I mean, this is a guy that couldn't beat out Carson Wentz to start. I think it's a great spot to back the Giants here. A lot of our experts are on that side. They're catching it. They're better than even money. You can get plus money on the Giants here. Daniel Jones has been a reliable NFL caliber quarterback by basically any metric. I think if you're going to get involved here, I think it's the Giants.
Then you also have another big one coming up as the Titans and the Eagles going at it. Now, I know it's an AFC versus an NFC team. Philadelphia trying to keep that top spot and home field advantage throughout. They're 4.5-point favorites at home. Give me the lowdown there.
Our guys love Tennessee. Anything 4 or above. The quickest way to summarize the handicap on the game is the thing that Tennessee does really well is play 1-possession games. Win or lose, they slog it up. They run the ball. They are expertly coached. They have a guy who can make chicken salad out of chicken, in terms of the pieces he has around them. Their strengths play into Philadelphia's weaknesses. It's a lot of points in a game that I think is going to be more grinded out than people anticipate. The Eagles have a laughably easy schedule, and not to discredit the work that they've done. You can only beat the teams in front of you, but this game feels like a great opportunity for either a Titans surprise by a field goal late. I think the Titans are the way to go.
You got the Jets on the road taking on the Vikings. The Vikings 3-point favorites in this one, but I am, as much as the Jets have a really staunch defensive front, I am really interested to watch what Justin Jefferson does against Sauce Gardner in this matchup.
Yeah, this is an absolutely. Who would have thought a Jets-Vikings December game would be a barn burner everyone's got their eye on? But here we are in a wild season. Mike White's great. I love Mike White. Everybody hates Zach Wilson. They do so for good reason. Mike White had an incredible game, but it was in a downpour against a lousy Bears team. Yeah, there's a reason Mike White's not a starter in the NFL. I am leery of jumping on that bandwagon. You're kind of buying at the max of the market in terms of Mike White. The Jets defense is great, though. It comes down to, is Jefferson going to dominate a rookie cornerback regardless of how skilled he is? Ultimately, it's been the year of the underdog. They are 176 against the spread so far, 56%. Favorites of the 7 points or more have done a great job of winning outright, but they're terrible against the spread. This is not one of those games. It's a tight game. Points have been at a premium. I think, I'll just be watching from the sidelines and enjoying it. The East Bill stand. I hope the Jets lose, but I think you'll know right away whether Mike White is it, and if he's not, a good game to bet live. But I'm going to stay away from this entirely.
Real quick, because this is an intriguing game only for the fact that you got Deshaun Watson with the Cleveland Browns returning to Houston. I know Cleveland's 7-point favorites in this game coming out, 47.5 over and under. But how difficult is it to try to pin one down with a guy that hasn't played in 2 years?
That's a great point. So the biggest thing for games like this is they are what we call high variance. We have a huge unknown in Deshaun Watson coming back. So if you have a huge unknown, you have a very high ceiling, they could win by 49 points. Or you have a very low floor, they could lose outright. When you have games like that, you can get the Texans at almost 2.5 to 1 to win this game. And this game is their Super Bowl. The Houston Astros are going to be in the building. There is a special before game party. They are doing a special concert at halftime. This lousy, terrible team is rolling out the red carpet and pulling out all the stops for this one game that the NFL schedule makers gave them to welcome back this garbage human being Watson back from suspension. You're going to see their absolute max effort with Lovie Smith. I don't know if it's enough to win. I will be betting them to win, though, because it wouldn't surprise me at all if there's some home cooking as well to make sure the Texans pull this one off.
Real quick, you got Utah and USC tonight coming up. USC favored by 3 points, Pac-12 championship game. I know a lot of these conference games are interesting, but I wanted to deal with what's coming up tonight.
Yeah, tonight, the biggest one coming up right away, North Texas in Conference USA. That is an underdog worth taking this weekend. I believe they play tonight as well. Go Mean Green, but in the Pac-12 championship, there's two angles of thought. Is it going to be a fishy game because the USC Trojans are leaving the conference, or is it, what can we expect from this kind of? But the conference also needs USC to make the playoffs to get a huge payday. So there's a lot of factors in play in the shadows. But personally, USC has been punching above its weight class all season with an absolutely unsustainable level of turnovers. I don't think Utah turns it over enough for them to be successful.
There you go, Matt. That's why we come to you. We appreciate it. We'll get into some of the bowl games coming up next week, okay?
Can't wait. Good luck, everybody.
Appreciate it, pal. That was brought to you by our friends at Potawatomi Hotel Casino. Potawatomi Casino Hotel, Milwaukee. Luxury stay, elite play. They've got it all. If you want to go there and check it out, the casino obviously is fantastic. Become a member of the Firekeepers Club. Oh, good stuff. You can go and book a room right now if you want to. They got a lot of holiday specials going on, and they got a lot of good music coming up in the Northern Lights Theater as well. Good stuff from our friends at Potawatomi Hotel and Casino in Milwaukee. PaysBig.com. That is PaysBig.com. More of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up next.
is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Packers rookie wide receiver Christian Watson has been named the NFL's Offensive Rookie of the Month for November. In that month, Watson had 12 receptions for 265 yards and 6 touchdowns. He was asked, what's next?
We're going to find out. Obviously, I'm going to keep on pushing to continue, to strive to be the best version of myself. There's definitely no plateau in terms of, my work and my preparation going forward. No contentness with, where I'm at right now. I'm still on the rise.
What's next for the Packers? They take on the Chicago Bears on Sunday. Aaron Rodgers says he's going to play, and his wide receiver, Alan Lazard, can't wait to continue on with the rivalry.
Yeah, I think he's still got to renew his ownership title or something like that. So you got to do that twice a year.
Kickoff from Soldier Field is Sunday at noon. Tonight, the Milwaukee Bucks welcoming the LA Lakers to the Fiserv Forum for a 6:30 tip, and the Deer could be getting Chris Middleton back. He'd be making his season debut after having off-season wrist surgery. Now, the Bucks have been able to win despite not having all 3 of their stars in their lineup. They sit 15-5, good for second in the East.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Saturday at the Fiserv Forum, the Wisconsin Badger basketball team renews their rivalry with the Marquette Golden Eagles. The Badgers, who sit 5-2 on the year, are coming off a loss to Wake Forest, while Marquette is 6-2 on the year, coming off a win over the 6th-ranked Baylor Bears. Tip-off Saturday is at 3:30. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Hour number 2 of the Bill Michaels Show. Great that you're on board on this Friday. Rivalry week culminating. Conference championships begin tonight. Yeah, a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff. Hey, I want to remind you, tonight it kind of begins. This is that weekend that marks the 1-year anniversary for the Christmas parade tragedy that took place in Waukesha. They've got the tree lighting tonight. They've got a lantern stroll and caroling this evening. The walk of lights and lighting ceremony later this evening. There's going to be all kinds of road closures downtown and such. So, one, I encourage you to go shop small businesses, support a lot of those small businesses. But the Christmas parade is going to be down there this Sunday. And if we weren't in Chicago, we'd be down there. We'd do our show down there. But we're going to be in Chicago this weekend. But if you are... If you're looking for something to do, you want to get in the holiday spirit, and you want to support that community after what went on there last year, and obviously the long trials and tribulations of that trial this past year, you want to get down there and help them out. Do it down on Broadway and Main Street and such, all in that area. So looking forward to that coming up later on this evening. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. How big is this game? Now, we asked this a little bit earlier, okay? Threw it out there. How big is this thing? This is a good deal? And this is from Dennis. Dennis says, the game itself is not that big. It doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things when it comes to wins and losses this season. It's big in the rivalry. It's big for us fans to pound our chest over the other. And it's big for my brother-in-law and I who bet on it each and every time. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't mean much. It's 2 bad football teams going against one another, trying to get bragging rights of who doesn't at least suck the worst. That's it. Let's not overplay it. So, all right. You know what? You got me on that one. I can't argue with that. I'll go with that. 877-867-1670. If you want to fire us up, do it. Give us a call. Phone line's wide open right now. You can find us over on Twitter at Bill_Michaels or at Ben Z Kenny as well. Follow us there. And you can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch TV, and watch the program all over. I like it. I'm you know what? I'm fine with just the rivalry aspect of it. You know, Brett says, I'm more energized for UW in that school in Milwaukee than Chicago and Green Bay. Yeah, you got the big one coming up between Marquette and UW coming up this weekend at the Fiserv Forum. Early, somebody said that the Bears have been around longer than the Packers. What the hell? That's from Mike. Who was the first franchise? Was it the Pack? I think it wasn't it the Bears or was it the Packers? The Acme Packers from years gone by. That's a great question. I know that, put it this way, I know that the Packers were around and the Bears were a rival. And early on when Papa Bear got wind that the Packers could possibly fold because of money troubles, they loaned the Packers $100,000 to keep them around. And that kept that team sustainable because he knew what the value of that rivalry of this area was when it came to football. I mean, he could have let them fail. He could have let them go by the wayside. And then who knows? Maybe everybody in the state of Wisconsin, maybe we're split between Vikings fans and Bears fans. But he knew the value of keeping that rivalry around. So he ended up loaning the Packers $100,000 to keep them afloat. And it's obviously paid off because of the rivalry and such. But I that's a great question. I should know this, and I don't. Not off the top of my head. Because I think if I'm not mistaken now, I think the Packers as a football team were around a long time. But as far as NFL teams go, I think the Packers came into the NFL after the Bears did. Correct? Am I Ben, do you got any historical Google on that?
Yeah, I can dip into Google.
You can look into that real quick because I think that's
my life experience could go as far as to tell you, but I'll Google it.
Okay. I believe that the Packers as a football franchise were around longer, but the Bears have been in the NFL longer, if I'm not mistaken. So, but I don't want to say for sure and then have people go, no, you're a moron. But I believe that. Go ahead.
Packers were established in 1919. Their first season in the NFL was 1921. The Bears were established in 1920, but started in the NFL in 1920. So you are correct.
Okay. So, all right. I thought that's what it was, but I wasn't sure, and I didn't. There are times where I'm like, nope, that's it. And people are like, no, you didn't do your research. You're an idiot. And sometimes you get hit with stuff. You're just trying to figure it out off the top of your head. So there you have it. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free. Let's go to Wayne listening to us in Minnesota. Wayne, how you doing today? What's going on?
Hey, Bill. Some of your question about the Packers.
Sure.
I guess I'm not, I don't know, kind of the way the season's gone. I'm not too into it. I guess I care more if Justin Fields plays and he runs for 300 yards. Then Barry should be showing the door at halftime because I got to imagine Fields will have 200 yards by then. But my main question or comment that I haven't called all week about was back to Chris McIntosh press conference with Luke Fickell.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't heard you talk about it, so maybe you have, and I just wasn't able to be listening to the radio at the time. But did you catch when he talked about during the pandemic, they realized that football is vitally important to the 800 student athletes or the university entirely?
Yes.
I feel as though that's when they realized this might have been the best thing that happened from the pandemic, sports-wise, is that the university realized, hey, we actually have to do something proactive with this program and not just stay in our comfort zone. So we have to go out and get somebody that is going to put us over the top, or we're perceived over the top. So we're competitive, that we're not just there, thanks for the check, have a good day.
Right.
The other thing with this move that McIntosh did, let's spin it to the basketball program. Do you think that puts Greg Gard on notice that he needs to be on top of his game the entire time, or he might be showing the door real fast like?
I think that anytime you don't have success, you have to ask yourself why. And and maybe the recruiting department for the basketball program has been better or ahead of the recruiting department for the football program. I don't specifically know, but I know that, Bob Huggins told me years ago when we were talking about graduation rates and kids liking you and everything, Bob said, I get paid to win basketball games. And when I don't, I know my job's on the line. I'm sure Greg Gard feels that too, especially following a legend like Bo Ryan. So he knows that he's got to keep the program in high regard. And if he doesn't, then he probably is going to be shown the door. I don't think there's any coach that looks at it that says, I can have 2 and 3 years of lack of success and I'm going to be able to keep my job. Doesn't matter where you're at. It just doesn't happen unless you're trying to build something that was nothing from the ground up and you've shown progress each and every year. At Wisconsin, you're expected to win. So to answer your question, yes, I'm sure Greg Gard looks at it that way.
Yeah, make no mistake about it. I'm not calling for Greg Gard's job like a lot of people have. I look at what he's done with what he's had, and I'm okay with it. I would like to see more. I think he's done a terrible job because he has gotten quite a bit, just like Bo Ryan did and Dick Bennett before him. They've gotten a lot with very little. So would it be nice to get those 4- and 5-star recruits? Absolutely. But, it is what it is at this point. So,
Nope, I would agree with that, man. Right. Appreciate it. He drops off. You get on board. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. It's a good point. Chris McIntosh, during the pandemic, they realized, because obviously when you're not getting that revenue, that income, you realize how much money you rely upon, whether it's in the athletic department, educational side, camp development or campus development, whatever it happens to be, how much you rely upon sports. And so, and the other thing, remember, coming out of the pandemic, when they did let some people go and they didn't really rebuild that recruiting department, also you realize coming out of, COVID, like, wow, everybody else, kind of excelled and bolstered certain things to come out of this strong. There was years ago, I go back to this all the time. There was a study out of the Harvard Business Journal, and Harvard did a study of businesses during tough times. And it's the businesses that had cut payroll, that downsized, that, kind of cut back on production, and that really, didn't do it wisely. Just cut to save money. They didn't survive. Or they really, really struggled coming out of a downturn. It's the companies that actually kept a happy employment base, that excelled in bolstering things for productivity, whether it was assembly lines, whether it was different machining opportunities, whether it was building their support staff, what have you. It was when you took advantage of the downtime to say, we're going to make ourselves better coming out of this. Those are the ones that really own the market. I think when the Badgers, they lost the recruiting department to Michigan State and they kept it small. And during COVID, it was like, we don't need a lot of people. We're going to keep it really, low key, rather than expanding it and saying, okay, when we hit the ground running, you got this, you got this, you got this. Start honing those skills and start getting ready to dive into this possibility of this NIL, transfer portals. Let's do that. They didn't do that. They scaled back. And meanwhile, you got everybody else racing past you. So I think that was part of the realization coming out of COVID also, that just because you couldn't get out and see people face to face and couldn't do certain things didn't mean you just cut the money. And that's the other thing. When you're talking about institutions like Wisconsin and big ones, institutions like Wisconsin, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Michigan State, these bigger, Iowa, Minnesota, these bigger institutions, it's not like you're hurting for money. You're not getting the gate, you're not getting certain advertising things, but you're still getting your television dollars. You're still getting certain things along the way. You're not hurting for money. Don't fool anybody by going, we got a budget. Oh my goodness. No, stop. You're bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars because of sports, specifically in the football realm. Don't tell anybody you're hurting for money and, we can't compete because we're small market. That's crap. We all know it's crap. So I realization been setting ourselves up to hit the ground running rather than scaling back. And I think that was also something that Chris McIntosh kind of alluded to in that presser. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. I got John and Scott and everybody on hold. Stay tuned. I promise we'll get to you right after this on the Bill Michaels Show.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Good to have you. Bill Michaels Show continuing. Good stuff. Don't forget about our friends at Sloppy Joe's Smoke on the Water this weekend. They're going to have full watch parties at both places and really good breakfasts out at Sloppy Joe's. On Hubertus, in Hubertus, good old-fashioned Wisconsin bar. Fish fry tonight. At both places, for that matter. But fish fry going on tonight. Get it. They got really good Bloody Marys out there, too. Really good Bloody Marys. That is Sloppy Joe's in Hubertus, on Hubertus, and then there's Smoke on the Water on Okauchee Lake. Either place you can't go wrong. Same owners, Joe and Ellen Hennis, fantastic people. Stop in, tell them we said hi. Coming up here at the bottom of the hour, Matt Lepay, the voice of the Wisconsin Badgers, is going to be joining us. We'll get his thoughts on Luke Fickell and the football program as we move forward. And we'll get a little bit of a look ahead to obviously tomorrow's contest between Marquette and UW. So we'll look at that as well. 877-867-1670. Let's go back to the phone calls. Talk to John listening to us in Atlanta. John, welcome to the program, man. What's going on?
Hey, Bill. Hey, thanks for having me on. I kind of have a question for you, and this is along the lines of the defensive situation in Green Bay right now. So do you think organizationally they look back at all? I mean, look at the McCarthy Capers years. I mean, I don't know how you felt, but I think most fans felt that Capers hung on for an extra 3 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. And that might have been because of the Super Bowl. But, I mean, as fans, it was just horrible getting slammed by Kaepernick for 3 years. I mean, he was setting records on us as far as running the ball. And those are tough as fans. And then you're getting boat raced. And then any big game during those later Capers years, you're getting boat raced and just humiliated. I know organizationally they still, I'm sure, look at themselves as successful, even though they got boat raced in big games. I guess the question is, do you think organizationally they look back at that as, okay, that was a time period where maybe possibly some loyalties kept somebody around longer than they should have, and meanwhile, it saved off three years of Rodgers' career as far as getting to a bowl.
Yep.
And let's not go down that road again? Or do you think it's like, let this regime, whether it be Goody and LaFleur, and let them make their own decisions. It is what it is. I just wonder if organizations, they look at the past, or are they still just looking at themselves, even though this is kind of a nasty year, they're still successful in their own ways. Do they not look at the past as far as wasted years or wasted time? I don't know.
Oh, absolutely. I think absolutely. When you appreciate the phone call, that's a great question. I think when you look at the Packers and the way they view things, I mean, I'd go further back than that. To be honest with you, I'd go further back than that. I'd go back to when, Michael Vick came in and ran all over them. The first time that the team had ever lost in temperatures below 32 degrees. I'd go back to that because we couldn't believe it. We watched that team just get completely run over in that game. They couldn't contain anybody. They couldn't stop anybody. Go to the game in which they were running the ball against them and passing the ball against them almost at will when the Giants had come to town in an NFC Championship game. You go to Colin Kaepernick and what he did to him, Mostert and what he did to him. Absolutely. You look at that and you go, it's just wasted opportunities. You go back to that San Francisco game. And the defense played well. The offense played pretty well, but it was, Micah Hyde not knowing to be, on a 2-point conversion. You got Morgan Burnett being told to go down by Julius Peppers. Bostic going up for an onside kick, had no business trying to catch the ball. I mean, there's so many different things that you can look at and go, wow, there was opportunities there, and it just all fell by the wayside. I completely agree with you. That this, you look back on franchise opportunities. If you think now, going to your question, are there loyalties there? Absolutely. Because you look at a guy and you go, you know what? If you've got a track record of 2, 3, 4 years of success and you have one bad year, yeah, you know what? You have a bad year, and then you got to take each year into consideration because is it because of injury? Did you have mass amounts of injury and you just didn't have anybody left? Okay. You can only do so much. That's one. Did the talent that the general manager gave you to work with, suppose he just put more and more and more assets into the offensive side of the football and the defense continued to decline, and yet you got the most out of those guys? Okay, then maybe you did have a pretty good coaching job, even though the record may not indicate it. But if you're just getting boat raced, as you said, and getting run on, and I still, to this day, I cannot fathom. You go back to 2010, 2011. Okay. That's probably the last time, well, you know what? I don't want to say that because you go back a few years ago with Matt LaFleur and what was it? 2020. You had a pretty good defense. Yeah. The Smith brothers, they were going at it, both sides. You had decent middle linebacking. You had decent up front. It wasn't great, but you were getting to the football. You were having fun. Remember they were doing the train, after turnovers and, it was a good defensive time in Green Bay, but you haven't had that punch you in the mouth, get after your ass, throw the quarterback to the ground, stuff the run like nobody's business since probably 96, 97. It's the last time that you've had that staunch of a defense, in my opinion. That's probably it. And I know I get it. It's all over the league. It's, coaches talk about it all the time. Well, we only have so many days we can hit, where there's only so many things we can work on. Damn it. I don't know how to do it, or I'd probably be one hell of a defensive coordinator. But there has to be a way to instill the will of tenacity and hitting into players. There has to be, because you see other teams do it. Injuries become such a big part of the game. You don't want guys to get hurt. You're trying to teach them different ways to hit and keep your head to the side and your shoulder and this and that. And it's become a softer, more stylish game than it has been a more physical game. I understand that, but man, you just, you don't get consistency anymore. You don't have those dominating defenses anymore. Not like you once had. You just don't. It's been a while, man. San Francisco's got a hell of a defense. Philadelphia's got a hell of a defense. They cover, they're fundamental, all of that. And when it comes to, stuff in the run, San Francisco's giving up less than 80 yards on the ground a game. It's because they're winning in the trenches consistently. Baltimore's been pretty good. Tennessee, we talked about that a while back. Tennessee is good. Now, without Aaron Donald, the Rams are going to look dramatically different. He's pretty much done, but they're also a team that gives up less than 100 yards per game. I really love what the Jets do, even though the Jets give up about, I think the last time I checked, it was like 110 yards a game, something like that. But I love the Jets in the trenches. But man, you just don't see that thumping, kick your ass defense. Dallas is best in the passing game. San Francisco is best in the running game. Somebody said that the Saints will thump you. The Saints, when it comes to the run game, the Saints are in the bottom third. They're giving 129.1 yards per game. And in the passing game, they're better. They're giving up under 200 yards per game, 197, which puts them, I think, about 7th in the National Football League. And total yards per game, San Francisco is only giving up 280 yards per game. When you look at the Saints, they're top 15. But the best defense in points per game all around, San Francisco. Dallas, number 2. Buffalo, number 3. Denver, New York, the Jets. Tampa Bay, Tennessee, New England, Philadelphia. All very, even to a certain extent, the Washington Commanders, all very fundamentally sound teams. Winning in the trenches. Go ahead, Ben.
It's because Philadelphia brings in former Wisconsin players.
They're bringing in anybody and everybody. They're bringing in Ndamukong Suh and JPP or not JPP, but oh God, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But they're bringing in everybody because
Joseph.
Linval Joseph. Thank you very much. But they were not great in the trenches, and now they're getting steadily better. And Ndamukong Suh is all about. I mean, I don't know if you read some of the quotes that he had about his legs feeling really fresh, and he can't wait to put a thumping on somebody, and couldn't stand Green Bay, and on and on and on, and he's in it for the ring. And, just, you talk about bringing in some emotion and some energizing emotion. You'd love to have that walking through the door. 877-867-1670. We're going to step out, take a quick break. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk about Luke Fickell taking over the Badger program. Matt Lepay, the voice of the Wisconsin Badgers. He is going to join us. That is coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. I know tomorrow they're going to be opening up early, Sunset Grill on Pewaukee Lake. If you want to stop out and catch the USA in action, they're also going to be open tonight. Good fish fry going on out there if you want to catch some of the conference championship games as well. Sunset Grill on Pewaukee Lake out in Lake Country. Good place to go. Joining us now on the hotline, our good friend Matt Lepay, the voice of the Wisconsin Badgers. Matt, how you doing, buddy?
Good, Billy. How's it going, man?
I'm doing well. I was, it was funny because I was watching the Ohio State-Michigan game, and I thought, boy, Luke Fickell would look great taking over for Ryan Day. And the next thing you know, he's on a plane to Wisconsin, which I think is fantastic. Give me your reaction when all of this went down, because it seemed like a lot of people were caught off guard on this.
Yeah, I think that's what happens when you assume, right? Never assume. They always tell us in this line of work. Yeah, look, I think it was a jolt. I just thought in my own mind, just conversations I've had with in the time when Paul Christ was let go to now. I thought, yeah, you're probably better off keeping it in house. But if you didn't, the first name that came to mind in conversations with friends, former players, people not named Chris McIntosh here, by the way, the first name was Fickell. I thought, that might, if you go outside, that might make sense. But still, when it happened, it was a jolt. I'm biased. I think the world of Jim Leonhard, and I think he would have been a perfectly good choice. It's just one of those instances where, again, going back to Chris, he said he was going to make this a national search. He had a search firm. They were going to cast a wide net. So I think people wonder, well, what happened in the course of the time when Jim Leonhard took over as the interim coach? I think what happened was Luke Fickell happened, and they knew that he was interested, and they pursued it, and obviously they came to terms. So initially a jolt, but as the days pass here, you're like, yeah, I can see where this makes perfect sense.
Have you had a chance to sit down and do an interview with him yet, or talk with him via the Badger podcast?
Well, we did. We talked a little bit backstage, if you will. We had the welcoming ceremony on Monday were in a room with players, staffers, donors, that type of thing. We did a little roundtable with Fickell and Chris McIntosh, and Fickell and I had a chance to at least touch base for 10, 15 minutes or so. He comes off very, very cordial, looks you in the eye, just watching him interact with a lot of the donors. He's very engaged. It's interesting, Bill. I would guess that you did the same, but I called some old friends back in Ohio, both from Ohio State and some people I know connected with the University of Cincinnati, and I still haven't heard anything bad about this guy.
Right.
And what was really interesting to me is that Monday, after our deal with Mac and with Fickell, and then after those two guys did the news conference, there was a reception still at the stadium, and I was talking to a couple former players, and one in particular said, he was talking to one of his buddies, another former player, who was just getting to know Fickell a little bit and just introducing himself to him, and he walked away saying, you know what, when you talk to this guy, you feel like you're talking to one of us meaning former Badgers, because the way that they view the game and the engaging nature. So I took that as a pretty good sign when you hear it from an alum of the program saying that about somebody coming in from the outside. He's undefeated right now. I get it. There's the excitement, but that was a pretty comforting thing to hear.
Like you, I made some calls. I had a couple of friends. One of them I had on the air, but I had talked to them about why, because he was so staunch in his support of Cincinnati. And we all know, look, it's a smaller program and such, but he was so staunch in staying there. He had turned down other jobs, kind of looked away, wanted to really build the program. And he said maybe he'd leave for the right job. What do you get the sense Wisconsin being the right job? Was it just the timing, or was it that, no, this is something that he targeted?
Yeah, I think timing is a part of it, certainly, with Cincinnati not playing in its conference championship game this year. And last year, you seemed to make it pretty clear when the overtures were coming from some big-name programs that he was going to be locked into his team until the season was over, which, as we know in the case last year, was in the national semifinal game. It seemed to me, Bill, talking to him briefly and hearing him in other settings, that he and Chris are just aligned. They seem to be lockstep into what makes Wisconsin, and what at its best has made it a very successful program. The way they view the game is still, as much as the game might be changing in some ways, it's still about toughness and, physicality and all of that. And he said he admired it, from afar. I mean, having played against some pretty good Wisconsin teams in Fickell's time at Wisconsin in the 90s, he had a real respect for how the Badgers played when they're at their best. So I think timing certainly is a part of it, but it seems genuine when he says he admired this program. And And look, another thing that's interesting to me, Bill, with this Wisconsin job right now, is that think back when Brett Bielema left after the Big Ten championship game against Nebraska, December of 2012. It took a while for Barry to find a guy to come in and be the next coach. Other guys, said thanks, no thanks, or just, it didn't work out. This, just on the appearance, looks to be a more attractive job now than it was 10 years ago. Now, you're getting paid more. That doesn't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting paid considerably more. But I find that interesting because 10 years ago, they were coming off back-to-back Big Ten championships. But right now, this is a more this seems to be a more attractive gig, at least for one very prominent candidate, the guy who they ended up hiring. I find that interesting.
How sensitive a topic is right now the Jim Leonhard situation? Because I get the sense there's some Badger fans that said, well, we'll figure out if we like Fickell or not by how he treats Jim Leonhard. I don't know if it's anything about treating Jim Leonhard a certain way. He's given him respect. He's given him the position to kind of say, do you want to stay or not? Can you do this or not? I think it's pretty much up to Jim Leonhard at this point, right?
Yeah, it seems to be, Bill. I think it's still, not being privy to their conversations. It has to be, a mutually beneficial situation, right? I mean, you're not going to, Fickell isn't going to bring Jim in just to be a nice guy. Jim isn't going to stay just to be a nice guy. I mean, it has to be something that is workable for both. I go back to my bias. I think, Jim is a proven college coach. His work as a defensive coordinator, we can say as a head coach unproven. He's coached 7 games as a head coach, but his work as a coordinator, his player relationships and all of that, I think he could be a priceless part of this staff if this is what he chooses. And we always try to read the mind of somebody here. If you're Jim, obviously you have stuff to process. Of course, you're going to be disappointed. He'd said repeatedly that he really wants to be the guy to be the head coach moving forward. But he's also, he is a big boy. He was, a walk-on here, an undrafted free agent. He's had to scratch and claw for everything in his football career, and it's worked very well for him. But I think he loves it here. That's no secret. He and his family love it in Madison. But he's also, I think, smart enough to know, okay, there is that. But what is best for me right now and my family right now? And if it's Wisconsin, that's great. Long answer telling you I don't know how this is going to end. Some people are suggesting that no news is good news. I just view it no news is no news with where they are and what's going to happen with Jim moving forward.
I want to ask about Fickell in the sense of, obviously a defensive-minded guy. The offense struggled this year mightily. The recruiting side of things, he's extremely good at. Does he have a list of targets, or is it just we're going to take the shotgun approach and basically buckshot it all over the place, try to get just the overall best players here that we possibly can?
Well, he's talked about this 300-mile radius, so that's been his philosophy, and how he would view it here at Wisconsin. I guess we'll all find out together how this works moving forward. And I don't know enough about the University of Cincinnati to know how that differs there, if it's, the academics and everything else that's involved at that school as opposed to Wisconsin. But it just seems like his philosophy is similar to what has existed here. I keep thinking of, Barry's time. You get what you can reasonably close to home, but if you've got to go to the, if it's the East Coast or wherever, then you can do that too. I mean, Wisconsin, obviously, and New Jersey did really well. They've had stretches of time where they've done well in Florida, so on and so forth. But I think with that one, Bill, anything I would say would be a guess, because I think he'll be in over the course of these next several weeks, months even, he'll be getting a lay of the land as to how things work at Wisconsin. But it does seem, generally speaking, I should say, that his philosophy lines up with some of what has worked really well for this program with Barry and obviously with Brett. et cetera, over the course of time here in the last 30 years.
Real quick before I let you go, Matt, I got to ask you, a big game coming up tomorrow at the Fiserv Forum. Obviously, a lot of expectations, of excitement thus far, right?
Yeah, it really has. They've had a lot of close games. Won a couple of them, dropped a couple of them, including on Tuesday night against Wake Forest. I think tomorrow is going to be fascinating, just from a basketball junkie standpoint. The way Marquette plays, likes to scramble you up. It looks like Shaka Smart has this havoc, that the brand that they put on how they play when he was at VCU. It looks like they've got that back, the way they were able to scramble up Baylor on Tuesday night. You think of Wisconsin as more of a, quote, ball control offense, and we'll see if they can protect it and not turn it over and not get easy baskets for Marquette. So you do have that contrasting styles. They have shot it better these last couple of games, Chucky Hepburn in particular, but it's always fun, right? I mean, over there, everybody knows how much Marquette fans love Wisconsin and vice versa. So it's one of those fun non-conference games that brings the casual fan in. I think it's good to build both programs. They get ready for the Big East and Big Ten, but I think college basketball, and Greg Gard has talked about this, college basketball has to do a better job of promoting its own product in the early portion of the season. And this is the kind of game that he's talking about, where if you might not care a ton in December, you're going to care tomorrow, and that's why it's fun.
Great stuff as always, Matt. Appreciate your time, buddy. Look forward to tomorrow, and we'll talk soon, okay?
All right, Bill. Take care, man.
Thanks, bud. There you go. That's our Matt Lepay. Good stuff from him. Matt's always a great guy to talk to. Always informative, always gives you the lowdown and gives you enough to go, oh, okay. There you go. I got it. I know there's a ton of optimism for Luke Fickell. A ton. I've got friends in Cincinnati that still to this day that text me and say, man, you got a good one. We're so kind of depressed that he ended up leaving. They really were, I want to say I don't want to say bamboozled, but they really believed he was going to stay. And they really felt that they had locked onto something for a long period of time. And on one hand, they hate that he's gone. On the other hand, they're like, man, wish him nothing but the best. We got a lot of, all of a sudden, Wisconsin fans that are coming out of the greater Cincinnati area, out of that Queen City, and people that say, look, you really, really, really got a good one. So hopefully it all pans out, and it'll all start relatively soon for Wisconsin. We're going to step back. Go ahead, Ben.
I am very excited, Bill. You mentioned the Marquette game quickly.
Yes.
It's the annual Marquette fans become Marquette fans again after rooting for the Badgers in March, game of the year.
There you go.
Coming up tomorrow.
Okay. So
old little brother syndrome.
You have conference football coming up tonight, USC, obviously. So you got that. Then tomorrow you get into the conference championships. You got Marquette and Wisconsin college basketball. Tonight you also have the return of Chris Middleton as the Lakers come to town. So the Lakers are at the Fiserv Forum coming up tonight. So you got the Lakers and the Bucks this evening. You've got conference football tonight, conference football tomorrow, Badgers in Marquette, and then NFL, Packers and Bears in the rivalry coming up on Sunday. It's a hell of a weekend, isn't it? In the grand scheme of things. Oh, my God. This is must-see TV and destinational viewing for sure. This is a great weekend.
Maybe Marquette will, win their Super Bowl this weekend and then be irrelevant in March again.
Oh, there you go. Ben Kenny with a quick kick to the crotch to the Golden Eagles. We're going to take a quick break. More after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 I need a window.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it 2 years later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Hell no, pay later.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Gifts. We got to get gifts. The soup makers, the grillers, the kids, the breakfast connoisseurs, even the pets in our lives. Wait, don't panic. Go to ShowsyFamilyBeef.com. That's ShowsyFamilyBeef.com.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
It's the Packers and the Bears. Sunday at noon at Soldier Field. The forecast calls for mostly sunny skies and a high of 40 degrees. On offense, Packers wide receiver Christian Watson named the NFC Rookie of the Month for his 6 touchdowns in just 3 games, starting with that 58-yarder against the Cowboys.
It definitely was kind of that fire starter for me in terms of just getting that confidence back and obviously, just be able to go out there and show myself and show everybody, what I can be.
Packers head coach Matt LaFleur on hearing Watson had won the award.
Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, he's got a tremendous work ethic. He's got a tremendous approach. So I expect him to continue to get better and better and better.
In Chicago, Bears quarterback Justin Fields returned to practice after missing last week with a left shoulder injury. Fields says he wants to test things out before Sunday.
I just want to make sure I can do everything that I need to do to play a game. So I'll know in practice.
Now, the Packers have won the last 7 games against the Bears. Last year in Chicago, Aaron Rodgers yelled, "I own you," to Bears fans in the stands. Earlier this season, in September, the Pack beat the Bears 27-10 in Green Bay. Bears defensive lineman Justin Jones was asked if he was surprised Aaron Rodgers is expected to play this Sunday despite his injuries.
Are you excited that you're going to be playing Rodgers instead of Jordan Love?
For sure. I want him to be out there. I feel like you can't play this game against Green Bay and not have a type of anger. You just got to remember what it was like you taking that L back in Lambeau Field. You got to remember what that feeling was when we walking off the field, going into our locker room, what the fans were saying, and chanting and laughing at us when we were walking in. You have to remember that. I don't forget.
That's Bears defensive lineman Justin Jones. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Good to have you back. Thanks for joining us. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at San Giorgio. Some of the best pizza you're ever going to get. The authentic Napolitana Pizzeria, downtown Milwaukee. If you're going to head down there tonight, before or after the Bucks game, Calderon Club right next door. San Giorgio, Calderon Club. You got the Marquette game tomorrow downtown. You're going to have Admirals contest downtown. So if you're heading downtown for anything, for that matter, if you haven't done it yet, by all means, go ahead and stop by either Calderon Club, San Giorgio, any one of those fine places, and tell them we sent you, because there's just good people over there. They pair up a lot of the dishes that we like, that I like, with Cider Boys from Point Brewing, and really good ciders. So if you go in there, tell them, hey, I want the Bill Michaels, and they'll know exactly what it is you want. Either place, and pair it up with Cider Boys, you're good to go. That's our friends at San Giorgio, and over at Calderon Club, downtown Old World 3rd Street, right across the street from the Hyatt Hotel. Coming up after the top of the hour is Joe Barry. You're going to hear from Joe Barry. I know you've been waiting for this. You've been salivating at the mere thought. That's the defense of the Green Bay Packers. That's the thought going into this contest as to what it is they have been, what it is they will be, and the in-depth mind, if you will, of one Joe Barry. Yeah, I forgot USA Netherlands too coming up. That could be more at the bars than it is going to be going to, but yeah, no doubt. This is from Ray, and Ray asks, he said, as a Packers fan, should I feel spoiled, lucky, or angry? He said, since 1992, we've had championship quarterback play. We just haven't won the championships. We've been to a total of 3. We've won 2. And yet everybody says we are spoiled because we have had so many wins, but we are not spoiled by championships. I think there's this sense of every year we've always thought Super Bowl or bust because we've had quarterback play, good quarterback play, Hall of Fame quarterback play. I think that there is a level of expectation not only for a certain amount of wins, but depth in the postseason. It's expected. Is that spoiled? No. When you have a good team, when you have a good quarterback, when you know it's a quarterback-driven league, no, it's expected. It's. I don't think it's being spoiled. I think we've been unbelievably fortunate that 2 guys were chosen by 2 different general managers to come in and lead this team. They hit on them. You know, I mean, we are, for the most part, short of New England fans, we are the aspiration of many franchises out there. Look how long they've searched for quarterbacks since Elway retired, Marino retired, Steve Young retired. You know, it just, you know, Pittsburgh's got a couple of championships, but they've been up and down. They've been above 500 with Mike Tomlin. They've always been there, but the Giants, they were up and down with Eli Manning. They'd win, and then they'd lose, and they'd win another championship, and they go back to losing. I think it's a level of expectation because of the level of play of quarterbacks and a certain level of talent, but I don't think I want to use the word spoiled, you know? Let's do this. You are going to hear from the man, the myth, the legend, Joe Barry. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next. Welcome back in. Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. Hour number 3 coming up at the final hour of the program. Mike Clemens is going to be here. He'll join us. We'll hear from Mike as we kind of wrap things up. Our Packers-Bears week stuff. Reminding you, coming up on Sunday, we are going to be down at the Shy Bar inside the Sheridan Grand Riverwalk. Looking forward to it. It's a Green and Gold postgame show presented by Bud Light. We're going to be there immediately following the Packers and the Bears. Come on by and say hi. We're going to be at the Sheridan Hotel, the Grand Riverwalk. Oh, I love that place. Can't wait. Can't wait to do that this weekend. Leaving for Chicago. Going to spend a little time down there. Maybe that Christmas Kringle shops that are open down there. I know they usually have big lines, but tomorrow is supposed to be a little bit warmer, but windy. So I don't know if that'll deter crowds or not, but I'm going to try to get out and walk around a little bit tomorrow, do a few things, enjoy some dinner. Kind of getting a band back together, myself and our crew from Super Bowl that we usually take with us, Mike Clemens and Erica and Kristen's going to be there. We're all going to be hanging out down there in Chicago, and then bringing you the Green and Gold postgame show, and then heading back to Milwaukee after the fact. And then it's bye-week time. So looking forward to that too. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at New Male Medical, treating guys with ED all over the state of Wisconsin, well beyond the borders as well. That's New Male Medical, and they've got a 98% success rate at treating ED. If you are feeling sluggish, if you're feeling moody, if you're up and you're down and you're like, man, I can't figure this out, could be low T. Stop in and get your numbers checked. Or we all know this time of year, here it comes. It's the cookies, it's the cakes, it's the cupcakes, it's all that kind of stuff, the pies, all the food that's going to start coming out at all the different parties, because we know we're all getting back together now, right? That's going to start happening, and you could put on some weight, and you'd like to jumpstart a new you. So my suggestion would be this: get a hold of them now and say, hey, I want to get on this weight loss program, and I want to either jumpstart this now or right after the first of the year. But call them 414-455-4451. That's 414-455-4451. Get a hold of our friends over there at the New Male Medical Center. Here you go. He is the defensive coordinator for your Green Bay Packers. Take a listen to the depth, the wisdom, the knowledge, the energy, the wherewithal of one Joe Barry.
Joe, how do you miss 22 tackles? I think that's what Matt said. I've never heard of that number that high for a missed tackle.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was a lot of, I don't know if I've ever played a game that there was 50 runs, so, but it was, and that's the thing. It wasn't, one guy. It was, it was everybody, missing 1, 2, 3. So it was just, it was a bad deal. And, that's the only thing that I know to do, and what we do as a coaching staff here is that, we got right back to the fundamentals and the details of it. And as we've talked about many times in here, both when we've been tackling well and, when we have a poor performance tackling, you just got to go back to the basics and the fundamentals in practice and an individual. As we've said, you don't tackle live at any point during the year other than, the games that you play. So we try to create those scenarios for guys as best we can, try to create drills that are as realistic, but, you can't create anything realistic to, tackling Jalen Hurts until, you got to go tackle him. So, yeah, it was a bad deal, but, we went right back to work this week and working on the details, working on keeping leverage on the ball, getting we talk about population to the ball, as many hats to the ball. When you're dealing with a great player, if you do miss a tackle, you get that second, third, fourth, fifth guy there, just relentless effort to the ball. So, but yeah, it was a bad display of tackling, no doubt about it.
You guys tackled pretty well early in the season, even against Josh Allen or Derrick Henry the week before. You guys tackled pretty well. Did you get a sense that you guys were defeated or even quit a little bit Sunday night?
No, I would never say that with our guys. I definitely don't think it was a lack of effort. And that's something we look, pretty hard at all the time. I think it was just, an unfortunate night. I wish I could put it on, one specific thing or one specific guy, or, there's all different types of tackles when you play in an NFL football game. There's close quarter tackles, there's space tackles. And when I say close quarters, within the tackle box, in the cylinder of the box, space tackles, and there was all different types. So, and it was unfortunate because I think we've, for the most part, we've tackled fairly well this year. I think we had a great tackling year last year. So that's the thing that's unfortunate. It kind of, I scratched my head with a little bit to have a performance like that,
Just in general, from a big picture perspective, there was so much talk about how good this defense could be before the season, because of the way you finished in the playoff game. Why do you think things haven't quite worked out in that regard?
Yeah, I wish I've stayed up many nights, thinking about that, and I wish it was one specific thing that I could, put my finger on, and we've talked about in here together on Thursdays that, I think for periods, definitely periods during games, we've played dominant, and for whatever reason, you could say, especially the last couple of weeks, losing some players, not having some guys in there, you can say that, but everyone has to deal with injuries, and everyone has to, have that next man up mentality. So there's a number of things that you could put your, put your finger on, but I wish I knew, but as I tell you with this group every week, and it's the truth, they're a resilient, tough bunch, because they come in every week with a, early in the week is usually a little rough for all of us, but by the time we walk off the grass on Wednesday afternoon and Thursday afternoon, the guys put in a 2 good days of work and are ready to go again.
It's not like you're facing a guy this week who likes to just stand back there. He's going to run again. What needs to change from defending the quarterback run game after what happened last week?
Yeah, I mean, bottom line, I think, when you're dealing with the and I think with Hurts last week and with Fields this week, it's not just, you can't just say, oh, these guys are a mobile quarterback. They're a different style of quarterback, that's come into the NFL. And, because you always got to be very aware of a quarterback that's more athletic than just the classic drop back passer. You always got to have a plan and be aware of it. With these guys, I mean, it's truly a college style offense where they're not just running around when things break down, when pass protection breaks down. I mean, they're running legitimate quarterback design runs all the time. And when you're dealing with an athlete like Justin Fields, you can't just rely on, hey, you're the free hitter. You gotta make the tackle, because it's hard. These guys are special athletes with the ball in their hand in space. They're big, they're fast, they're powerful. And that's where, I think you as a unit, you can't rely a lot of times on just one guy, because again, they're going to make you miss. They're going to make you miss a tackle. And that's where, the population to the ball, the strain, the effort, the relentless pursuit to the ball for the whole game, because it's not just something that happens in certain situations. These guys are legitimate ball carriers from the start of the game to the end of the game. So I think it's just something that, we've stressed and we've talked about, but it's got to be on everyone. It can't just be on one guy.
He didn't play last week. It seemed Justin had been a lot more productive lately than maybe he had been before the last time you saw him.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Just the way their scheme, or just
I think it's obviously it was Luke being new. I think as a play caller on the offensive side of the ball, you kind of figure out what you have as it goes. But I don't have off the top of my head the specific numbers with what they've done, the last 5 or 6 weeks, but it's, they've rushed for, 250 yards every week. I mean, it's staggering. And I think they're just finding their way as an offense. And definitely, Luke's finding, a way that he's definitely comfortable with calling plays with Fields.
You talked early in the season, or even during training camp, about your defensive line being special.
Yeah.
So when I would hear that word, I would think there'd be a group that would dominate guys.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case. I realized you guys missed tackles, but there was a lot of wide open lanes too. Why is a special group not performed?
Yeah, I mean, I do want to give. I think Philadelphia has a really good offensive line, and they did a great job. They really did. As far as getting hats on a hat and not allowing total free hitters, as we talk about, especially in the run game. But yeah, I think it was I tip my hat to Philadelphia, but I still believe in that group of guys that we have in the entire defense, but especially up front. I believe in Kenny Clark. I believe in Dean Lowry, Jaron Reed. That whole group. So I'm excited to see them play this Sunday.
Kenny's been pretty quiet though this year. I mean, he had some sacks. I'd rather some more than sacks, but I don't think he's done much since week 3 in that regard, and I don't think he really puts to life.
But as I've told you guys before, I think definitely for especially a defensive lineman, and it doesn't matter if you're an interior lineman or an outside rusher, to get into a rhythm, to get into a flow, that usually happens. It kind of spark plugs you when you get a sack. And we've just been, it's hard to get into that kind of rhythm. Definitely, for example, on a game against the Eagles, when you're defending 50 runs, but we gotta, whatever course of game, we can't control that as defenders. We got to play the course of the game the way the course of the game goes. And if we got to defeat reach blocks and base blocks and get off blocks and make tackles that way to get us going, to get us, that spark. We got to do whatever it takes. So, and that's what we're going to have to do this week as well.
I think Justin Hollins played like 22 snaps. Is that about right for him, or do you think you can even maybe push that a little bit more?
Sure. I think it's, as you guys know, I had a history with Justin for a year in LA. And there's similarities with him coming here, but it's still, 2 years removed. Me being here for 2 years, him being in a similar system but different for 2 years. So, Justin's a pretty smart, cerebral guy. He was able to, he literally, I think Matt told you the story. He met the head coach and his position coach literally in stretch on Thursday last week. So that's when he got here. So for him to be able to, get here on Thursday and then, play 20 plus snaps on Sunday, I think is pretty cool. So, and of course, Justin's the type of guy that wants to be on the field all the time. As you guys know, with the defensive end / outside linebacker position, that's a group of guys you like to roll, you like to have a rotation. So, obviously play to help us.
Deal with the doubles that Aaron Donald got all the time, and I'm not saying Ken as much as Aaron Donald. I don't know if anybody does, but how do you get him into positions? If he's struggling, how do you get him into a position?
I think you got to do it. That's a great question. I think that there's no way to completely, based on the, especially in the run game, based on the type of run that you have called offensively. They're going to have structures where they're always going to account, especially for the interior guys. They're always going to be able to hopefully have, 2 people accounting for that guy, double teams. Now the thing that you can do to help that is you play multiple fronts, you play different fronts. Within those fronts, you're able to have movements called to move them, to kind of counter, the hard double teams, but to completely be able to create, no double teams for, a 3 technique defensive tackle or a nose guard defensive tackle. That's challenging, but that's the way you combat it is, you have multiple front variations, and then within those multiple front variations, you're able to move. So that's how we try to counter it.
There you go. That's Joe Barry, defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, talking to the media yesterday. There's some things I want to go over when we come back, because some stuff he said, there's a lot of truth into the stuff that he discusses. There are some things, though, that it's kind of like he kept going back to and saying, and I'm like, oh, no. That I can't go along with. So I want to tell you what that is when we come back. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. And right now, no interest, no payments, a year, nothing down, a year. Give them a call. Go to PellaWI.com or call them 855-PELLA-WI. Keep some jingle in your pocket this time of year. And you can still get your windows and doors done. Still make your house more economical. Still make it more beautiful. Still make it more valuable. That's our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. But you can't do anything if you don't call and don't get a hold of them. Go to Pella, P-E-L-L-A, PellaWI.com. That's PellaWI.com, or call them 855-PELLA-WI, 855-PELLA-WI. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Big weekend coming up. Four Seasons Island Resort, Pembine, Wisconsin. They have their Christmas holiday season kicking off today. Santa's showing up this weekend, so if you are looking for something to do, you want to go up north, you want to enjoy yourself, you can still watch the game in the bar, in the Boundary Water Sports Bar up there. Have a great holiday weekend. Otherwise, they have all kinds of different special weekends coming up. And they're starting to get some snowpack in the area as well. Don't forget. So if you're looking to take your sleds with you, you can do that too. But coming up in January, they've got a chocolate fest coming up in January, bunch of different dates after the holiday, so to speak. And they have a tremendous New Year's Eve package as well. If you want to get away, but still be in the resort and enjoy your night out, so to speak. Get a hold of them. Get a hold of our girl Barb, B-A-R-B, Barb at the4seasonswisconsin.com. Barb at the4seasonswisconsin.com. And if you want to call directly, it's 715-324-5800. 715-324-5800. Get a hold of Barb and tell them you heard it here. You get 15% off right away. So make sure you use our name and that which is, cash in your pocket. That's what you get just for listening to the program. But a lot of fun up at the Four Seasons Island Resort. As a matter of fact, once the season, I hope the Packers are playing all the way through Super Bowl. But once the season culminates, I think I might take advantage of one of those January weekends up there. Just go up and watch the snowfall and sit in the pool in the hot tub, and then do a little dinner at night. Maybe a few different places to drive around to, and then back into the Boundary Water Sports Bar and Grill later in the evening. Some karaoke or whatever it happens to be. Some local music. Always good. Always fun up there. That's the Four Seasons Island Resort. So there's a couple of things that I took away from Joe Barry, okay? One is he said it, I think, 3 times, where he talks about, it was 50 runs. As if, they ran the ball so much that we should have had that many missed tackles. Kind of like, I don't want to say making the excuse, because he really wasn't making the excuse, but he kept saying, he said, 50 runs. I mean, he said it numerous times. And, they had 50 runs, 49 runs to be exact. But, they ran the ball a lot. But, Jalen Hurts, you couldn't contain. It wasn't, yes, they had a few runs set up for Jalen Hurts. But a lot of this was just scramble, takeoff, huge. Bill Huber asked the question. He's like, dude, your defensive front was supposed to be so much better. So much better. It's a down year for Kenny Clark. Jerron Reed hasn't done a whole lot. Let's talk about that. And he said, and then kind of, I give credit to Philadelphia. They got a great offensive line. So in other words, you didn't have an answer. You didn't have an answer.
Not second guessing, though. He doesn't second guess.
No, he's not second guessing it. No, he's just going to give credit to Philadelphia. I had no answer. They beat us. Sometimes you can say that. They can beat you here and there, but 363 yards, 49 carries, 7.4 yards per carry. You couldn't spy the quarterback who just ran all over you. And oh, by the way, Sanders ran 21 times for 143 yards and 6.8 yards per carry. Oh, come on, man. Well, they ran 50 times, so what do you expect? That many missed tackles. And no. He sounded, and this is what I've talked about. Okay, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. Tackling is a part of will, energy, and effort. if you have that energy, if you have that, you're playing for something and you want to take that tenacity out there, and you not only want to beat the guy across from you, but you're looking for that emphatic stop, right? You got that pep in your step. You wake up one morning, if you're really good, you're ready to go. Other mornings you wake up, you're like, oh God, I just want to get through the day, right? We've all been there. But you get the sense is as the season has gone on, it's been like, we got him. We're going to be mathematically eliminated. We didn't play well. We're not really that good. We're, on and on and on. Now injuries are starting to mount. Yeah. And it seems like this team is a step slow. Now, he said, no, it's not because of lack of effort. It was just an unfortunate night. Well, you've had 900 yards in 2 weeks, and it's trending in a bad direction, and it has been for a while. I'm not expecting him to sit up there and go and, kind of look between everybody and go, you know what, between you, me, and the fence post, I really kind of suck. I suck the life out of the room. I suck the life out of these guys. They don't have that energy, which means maybe they're a half step slow. So instead of being there and squaring up and being ready to take on a ball carrier, they're half step slow, which means they're reaching, they're grabbing, they're arm tackling, and guys are breaking more tackles because they're not in position to be successful. Why? It's not because of not their effort. It's just they don't have the same pep in their step. They don't have the same energy. You know why? Because they're probably listening to me. Because I could put an insomniac to sleep. You don't hear anything energize-wise. Now, okay, here's the other side of the coin. You don't ever get energy out of Bill Belichick either. Right? I mean, he's about as monotone, craptastic conversation as you can possibly get your ears on. So I'm not going to say that what is at the podium is necessarily going on behind closed doors. But there is nothing there that says, you know what, we missed this. You know what, we didn't collapse here. We didn't do this. Here's the things that I saw that we didn't fix that and it's back to the fundamentals. It was fundamentals and the details of it. What? What? In other words, your team didn't tackle. Your team can't tackle. They were good in the beginning of the year. You know why? Because they were playing for something. We got Aaron Rodgers. Things are healthy. Things are good. We're 2-1, man. Let's go. Let's get it on. Let's go. And now it's like, no, we suck. We're not that good. We're going to be eliminated. And, okay, I'm going to go get that guy. It's just a different energy. It's a different effort. Not to say they don't have an effort. It's just a different level of effort. And then when asked, look, this was a team that Gutekunst put together. Devontae Wyatt and company brings them in, stockpiles things. Your linebacking core, your defensive front, where you're supposed to win games, man, in the trenches. You got optimism. And all he can say is, well, I've stayed up a lot of nights thinking about it. What? Huh? Stayed up a lot of nights thinking about it. Wish it was one thing. We talk about it every Thursday. Okay. Makes you want to eat a can of peaches and fire up a 5-mass skull bong listening to that guy, doesn't it?
Don't disparage peaches.
And then when asked, you've given up 900 yards in the last 2 weeks. Why? He went, I wish I knew. This group is tough and resilient. I almost fell out of my chair. I get what he's trying to say. He's protecting his guys. He's trying to just kind of do status quo. He's there because he has to. But this is a guy that doesn't have the answers. And this is a guy that certainly is not challenging anyone. Not in a way that you and I would deem acceptable. He may go, come on, guys, this week, this is what we're going to do. And they're all like, hey, yeah. And they're looking at each other going, no. I wish I knew. It's a lot of nights I stay up at night. It's caused me to stay up many nights. You Packers fans too. I mean, come on, man.
Maybe I'm just jaded, Bill, and I listened to Paul Christ for years.
Yeah.
And tried to find meaning from that. That actually that press conference sounded like like a holy moment, like the most energy I've ever heard. But I guess when I'm comparing it to Paul Christ, then that tells you enough.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. as much as I like Paul, and I don't know if Paul put on for the media or what, but there was times Paul just didn't make sense. I'm like, what the hell was that? What did he say? You know, what was that defense? You did pretty well. Second half wasn't really, a bag of ice cream. What? Just what? By the way, news and notes coming out of Green Bay today. The only two did not practice players, David Bakhtiari, which he was in a really good mood yesterday. There's no reason why he shouldn't be practicing today. That's a little bit of a red flag. And then Darnell Savage not practicing today, but no David Bakhtiari today. Don't know if it just needed a day of rest in the knee or what, but for all the accounts, he was in a pretty good mood yesterday. Looking forward to the weekend. Looking forward to the rivalry, and today not on the practice field. So, yeah, I know, Jason. Jason says we desperately need the Mike McCarthy deciphering machine. Yeah, I got to bring that back. You're right. I got to bring it back. We'll eventually put it all together. I promise you. So, oh my goodness. Let's do this when we come back. I do want to talk a little college football playoffs. Do want to get into that. Go to the positive side of things. I want to get into that just a little bit. If you want to talk either, whether it's Joe Barry, Green Bay Packers, if you want to talk a little bit about the college football play, whatever it happens to be, get on the line. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Quick Trip. Top tier alternative fuels, no fee ATMs. They got it going on. You go there. You get into the Quick Trip. You get next to the gas pump because you need gas anyway. You type in your Quick Rewards card number, and you are registered. It's that simple. That's simple. And then come Sunday, you could hear your name called. Wayne Larrabee could say, this portion of the opening drive brought to you by Quick Trip. And today they're playing for Joe Thomas, whatever. And all of a sudden, for every yard garnered on the opening drive, you're winning $10 per yard. Not a bad way to go. And if they should score, $500 more. Nice. Good stuff from our friends at Quick Trip. They are a terrific staple in the state of Wisconsin. And I can't recommend them anymore if I had to. I could go on and on about Quick Trip. Everything from their mint chocolate chip ice cream all the way over to the burgers and such that they make fresh every day. Great stuff from our friends at Quick Trip.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 I need a window.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it 2 years later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Hell no, pay later. Oh, oh.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Sure, with the license for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show brought to you by Lisa Lee Ortel, the real estate agent. Now, Lisa, she can help you with all your real estate needs, and whether you're looking to buy or sell at this point, maybe you're looking to invest in property as you get into the new year. Check her out on Facebook or email her at lisamoveswi@gmail.com. lisamoveswi@gmail.com. Or just call her, 414-617-6798, 414-617-6798. Got a team of experts that she works with. They can help you get a 1% closing cost credit up to $3,000 and help you get some free mortgage refinancing right now on loans that are closed this year still. So, and also works a lot with veterans and understands the VA loans as well. And very much a certified condo specialist. So much good there. And it's, you think the housing market, while it's slowed down, it's a terrible time to buy. And actually, people say it's not because prices are coming down. They're going to go back up eventually, but prices are coming down, or at least have remained stable. And that now's the time to buy because you can always refinance later and have the interest rates go down again. But as she said, now's the time to do it. Call her 414-617-6798 or email lisamoveswi@gmail.com. Good stuff. So Ben Kenny, you tell me now that the Rose Bowl has said we're good with 12, we're good with expanding this college football playoff situation. Because are you in favor of this? No. You're like the pessimist in all of this, the fly in the ointment here.
I don't think I'm a pessimist. I'm anti-expansion. I'm an anti-expansionist.
Why is that?
But It's happening, and I've accepted it, and I'll root for the good of the sport. I think college football, and this will happen by 2024, by the way. So once that year comes, we'll really see. I think college football is very much a regular season sport. Meanwhile, college basketball is a postseason sport. We know what the tournament is. I just think drumming down the entire college football season and having all that matters be this 12-team playoff will largely take away from the meaning of all of the big games played throughout the year. And in this sport, like in the sport of college football, I don't think it's possible to create a perfect system. So the more you add to it, I think then the more meaning you take away from the regular season, which is actually what drives everything.
Yeah, but the regular season, to be one of the final 12, to me anyway, the final 12 in this regard means that you're going to have teams that have on any given day a legitimate shot to win. And if you go to the final 12, that means you could be looking at a team like Washington with a couple of losses, Utah with 3 losses, Kansas State with 3 losses, teams that wouldn't normally even get a sniff. They get that opportunity to kind of show their wares. Now you can maybe get a team like, say, another win out of, say, a South Carolina, another win out of a Texas, out of a Notre Dame. Central Florida could possibly climb, up into that top 12. Some of these smaller schools that, much like Cincinnati did last year, that would normally never have a chance at getting up into that area, now have at least a legitimate shot at getting in to that grouping of 12. And that, to me, you might see a couple more David versus Goliath matchups, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
The matchups will be good. I'm not going to dispute the fact that it's going to be an entertaining product. I guess when I look at those teams, and especially the ones you mentioned, maybe not the smaller ones. It's great for Tulane, who might win the American and get that auto bid. Mm-hmm. But when you mention 3-loss Big 12 teams or 3-loss Pac-12 teams, I would argue they don't deserve to go to the playoff because they had chances to make it and they lost. Like the whole point of why Alabama, Tennessee, and Alabama, LSU this season were so meaningful is because when Alabama lost, they lost their chance at the playoff. Now, if you just allow those teams to lose all those games and then make it, I guess what's the point? And also the David and Goliath, I don't want to see Tulane play Georgia. I'm going to feel bad for the people on the field.
Nobody wanted to see Cincinnati play Alabama last year, and Cincinnati gave Alabama all they could handle. The problem was you could just see the disparity between the big bodies in the trenches of Alabama versus the smaller bodies that were more athletic and faster that Cincinnati had, but they just got steamrolled. But it was still a really good game.
Oh, yeah. Well, Cincinnati was really good, and they were undefeated, and they were in the top 4. I'm totally fine with that. I'm like this year, the teams that would have made it if it were 12 include Utah, Alabama, Kansas State, Tennessee, Penn State, Clemson. Like once we start letting teams start losing games throughout the regular season and then make it, I would argue they don't deserve to do it. So many put out, rightfully so, that had this format, the 12 team, been in effect for the last 10 years, Wisconsin would have made it 4 or 5 times. Mm-hmm. And I look back like 2017 Wisconsin, really good team, really good defense, Jonathan Taylor. No one needs Alex Hornibrook to play playoff games. It would be awesome to watch Wisconsin make it. But as a fan, I want to see Wisconsin make it when they are good enough and deserving to do it. I don't want to see them go get dump trucked in the Big Ten title, but still be 10-2 and then still be able to make it into the playoff. I would argue they should have to win those games in order to make it in.
Let's do this. And I don't mind the playoff. I think you're going to see good matchups and such. I understand what you're saying about devaluing the regular season. I think 12 is a good number. I didn't want to see 8. I wanted to see it expanded just a little bit more to give a few more of those a little bit lesser teams that are on that fringe more of an opportunity. But I'm excited. I'm looking into it. 2024 is when we're going to start seeing this trickle in, right?
Yeah, very excited. But I look at people say there's more good football, which I guess is true. But Bill, if you print more money, doesn't that then devalue the money you already have?
Well, if you're printing more money, that means I have more money to spend, which means I have more money to go to some of these playoff games.
Yes, but it also means that but when you print
the
more
value
money,
of the dollar goes down. I agree with that.
Which I would argue that's what's happening with college football.
Well, I'm glad they didn't go to 16 because there was some talk about that too, and I'm glad they didn't do that. I'm comfortable at 12. 8, we'd still be arguing. 16 be too many. 12, I'm pretty comfortable with. That's 6 contests. That's a few weekends, and I think we're good right there.
I mean, not to mention you're also now asking kids to play 17 games in a season,
right?
Which I don't think I don't think it's possible. Like to ask them to go through all of that, like that's a full NFL season. And the NFL are professionals. They actually have time to work on certain things that come with being a professional.
Yeah,
kids are in college.
Right. Because by the time you get out of there, you're already into the combine. These guys don't get any chance to rest. And for some of the higher end draft choices that do play deep into the postseason or for a championship game, these guys, man, they're not going to have any time because you go straight from the season into the combine and into training for the combine, and from the combine into the rookie camps and mini camps, OTAs, and right into training camp. You don't have a rest for a year. So I agree with that.
So we're going to see some college football playoff opt-outs. I can almost guarantee it. Top players are going to look at the playoff and realize that they're not going to go play another 4 games. They're going to get ready for the draft. And that's what you kind of bring when you set up a format like this.
That I agree with too. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be an onslaught, but I think you'll see probably 3, 4, 5 guys a year that'll say, I think I'm going to garner my career and go make the money rather than go for the championship. Let's do this. We're going to step away, come back. I'll get back into the phone calls. Gerard, I know he's been on hold a long time. We'll get to Gerard and a cast of thousands all on hold. Get to the top of the hour. Next hour, Mike Clemens going to join us as we wrap up Packers Bears preview week. Stay tuned. A whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show is next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
This December, it's a cash avalanche at Potawatomi. Saturdays, you could get buried in up to 10 grand cash. Plus, all the unclaimed prizes snowball into a huge cash jackpot at the end of the month. Just play with your club card for a chance to win. Sure, presents are nice, but nothing beats cold, hard cash. Only at Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. More info at paysbig.com/cold cash. Must be 21 years old to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
It's the Packers and the Bears, Sunday at noon at Soldier Field. Packers head coach Matt LaFleur says Green Bay's defense needs to do a better job tackling after missing 22 tackles against the Eagles.
Early on, especially, we were doing a great job, and we got to get back to that. And it's not just one guy, it's everybody, and making sure, again, maintaining your leverage on the ball and then having multiple hats at the party.
Packers wide receiver Christian Watson was named the NFC Offensive Rookie Player of the Month. Watson says it was Aaron Rodgers who told him he had won the award.
I was lifting in the weight room this morning. I hadn't checked my phone or anything before I went in there. And 12 actually congratulated me before I even knew. So he kind of, I don't want to say spoiled it for me, but he let me know. So, man, it was kind of a cool interaction. He congratulated me for that. I kind of was shook for a little. I was like, what do you mean? And then he had told me, and it was really cool.
Aaron Rodgers insists he'll be ready to play Sunday despite a fractured thumb and rib injury. Bears defensive back Jalen Johnson.
I mean, I never had a doubt he wasn't going to play. I mean, he's that type of guy. He's always going to find a way to get in there and play, especially a game like this, the rivalry game. And, I mean, he's a talker. Honestly, I mean, he just, like he said, last time he came here, he was saying he owned us and talking to the fans a certain way. I mean, he's just a real fierce competitor. And I feel like at the end of the day, we got to find a way to get that taste out of our mouth as well. I mean, you gotta put it in action to be able to stop a talker like that.
So this is the 206th time the Bears and Packers rivalry game has been played. Packers wide receiver Alan Lazard.
This one, the Packers Bears, is so historical, over 100 years. The winner of this game will be the winningest franchise in NFL history. So there's a lot at stake. Obviously there's still some hope for us and everything going into this game. So we just got to go out there and execute.
That's Alan Lazard. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Welcome back. Continuing on. Good stuff today. Packers Bears week. Rivalry continues on this weekend. A lot of football, some hoops. I'm excited for the weekend. I don't know about you, but I'm excited for what's upcoming, for sure. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Cunis RV. I know it's not normally RV season right now, but now's when you start thinking about deals. And you think about your summer next year and you go, man, if we would have had an RV, we could have done this or gone to this park or maybe to this event or maybe to this race or this tailgate party, whatever. RV time, camper, whether it's a tow behind, fifth wheel, camper van, travel trailer, whatever. Go to Cunis, Kunes, CunisRV.com. That is CunisRV.com. That's Cunis, Kunes, CunisRV.com. They're growing all over the state of Wisconsin, all over. So check them out. Good people over there. Devondre Campbell, Romeo Dobbs, all continued to practice today. Mercedes Lewis has returned after his rest day as well. The only two not practicing, as I had mentioned earlier today, Darnell Savage and David Bakhtiari. That's it. Everybody else pretty much back at practice today. So good stuff there. But man, you just wonder about Bakhtiari if the knee's acting up again. Just as he starts to come back and play pretty well, you're like, oh, damn. Let's get back to the phone calls. Let's go to our buddy Gerard listening to us in Delaware. Gerard, what's up, man?
Don't worry, Bill. When Bakhtiari plays next year for another team, he'll go back to his own all-pro level. Yeah. Don't worry about it. That's the way things always go with us.
When he's played this year, he's played well. He just had, it's been trying to get him back and healthy. Yeah.
Yes. I want to talk about what you were just talking about, but then I want to talk about Barry and scouting. Look, these teams in college, they're trying to get into any kind of bowl game, toothpaste bowl. It's all about recruiting. The higher they finish, the better they could put in their booklet and their leaflet when they send it out to their potential recruits. That's what that's all about.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's all that matters. Now, look, here we got a guy up there and saying running backs are tough to tackle. Is that what he said? Did I miss that?
He said with that many attempts, he talked about that many attempts as if to say, well, there should be that many, missed tackles because you had 50 attempts. And he also talked about some of these running backs are hard to tackle and these guys are good up front. And in other words, they were just so good. They whooped our ass and I had no answer.
I'm wondering about, our draft and everything, through the years. Have you heard? I mean, if I was Goody, I'd be firing scouts, wouldn't you? I mean, don't you want to hire good people around you, Bill, that are going to give you the best? Why do we not hear that? Do we ever hear anything about that? I don't recall. Do you?
Every now and then, yeah. It's not big news usually when a scout, a collegiate scout, an international scout, or whatever, they let somebody go or they promote somebody. We kind of go, oh, okay, because you never see or hear this person's name. The only time we give a damn is when a general manager is being replaced. Other than that, we don't talk about it very much. But you're right.
Yeah. Where is this? Where is this? Look. I got to admit, I saw Amari Rodgers with Clemson. I thought he was pretty good. I watched Wyatt and Walker last. I thought they were pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Now we don't know yet. We know when Rodgers came in. But with these other guys, like some of the guys they pick, you never seen play, like
right.
Tom or the guy from UCLA. We never, come on now. Yeah, you almost, and we never really seen Watson play, right?
Right.
Did you ever see him play in college, right? So
right.
And Dobbs, we never seen these guys play.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, some of the guys said, you wonder where are these scouts on this? How come heads on? If I was good, I'd get rid of some of these guys. So I'm not going to make myself look bad.
Yeah.
Why should I take the fall for these guys?
Yeah,
right?
because if I said to you, like, because I'm just trying to think, it's like Joe Huber, Sean Linton, I know Chris Gaines. If I get Mike Owen, Sam, I can't remember Sam's last name, but if I talk about these names, you go, who? But those are all the scouts for the Packers. That's why when you say, why don't we ever hear about it? Because I could tell you, Brett, I think it's Thiessen, Brett Thiessen. Brett Thiessen was moved to the SEC. You would be like, oh, okay. Nobody knows these guys because you just don't hear about them a lot. You know what I mean? Gerard, we're at the top of the hour, bud. I got to cut you loose. Good stuff as always. Coming up the next hour, don't forget about 15 minutes away, Mike Clemens is going to be here, and we're going to wrap up our Packers Bears week. Do not forget, coming up, the Green and Gold postgame show, we are going to be live. You are looking live. We're going to be live at the Sheraton Grand Riverwalk Hotel right there, downtown Chicago. So if you're not going to the game, that's fine. If you're not going to the game, that's fine. Come on over. Watch the game. Enjoy the postgame show. If you are going to the game, now you got a destination after the game. Come on by. We're going to be at the Sheraton Grand Riverwalk. And if you are looking for a room, they have a special rate just for us. Tell them you heard about it on the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. Special rate for Packers fans coming into town to check out the game this weekend. It's the Green and Gold postgame show live from Chicago coming up this weekend. Stay tuned. Another hour yet to go. We'll be back right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers are back in the practice field for a final time this week before making their way to Chicago on Sunday to face the Bears. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers practiced yesterday on a limited basis after missing practice Wednesday. Rodgers dealing with thumb and rib injuries, but will start Sunday. Rodgers was knocked out of last week's game against Philadelphia, forcing Jordan Love into action. Rodgers said a moment like that, where Love played pretty well, is huge for a quarterback.
And once you go out and do it, changes your mindset, because you got something to draw back on now that you've done it. Much like for me against Dallas back in 2007, I always drew back on that experience. Coming in the game against a really good opponent and playing the way I wanted to play allows you to take some of that pressure off next time you're out there in that situation. So he played last year against Kansas City, didn't play as well as he wanted. They did a short time.
Injury. His practice on a limited basis the last days would be back out there again today. Coach Matt LaFleur said he's going to see how he reacts before deciding whether to play him Sunday. He's missed the last month with an ankle injury. Kick on Sunday is at noon. Turning to the Badgers, new coach Luke Fickell expected to act as the head coach during Wisconsin's bowl game. Fickell had said Monday he intended to coach in some form, but being the head coach is something that usually doesn't happen with new coaches. Badgers going to find out where they're headed for bowl season on Sunday.
Get crazy low prices pricing on toys at Fleet Farm. Going on right now. Save up to 50% on all toys in-store and online. Shop red-hot deals on the best toys this Christmas season. Save up to 50% on top toy brands like Barbie, Lego, Melissa and Doug, Nerf, and more. And find even more blazing hot holiday deals in our weekly ad at fleetfarm.com. Don't miss out. Save up to 50% on all toys at Fleet Farm.
Well, the Bucks are back in action tonight as the Lakers come to town. Chris Middleton expected to make his season debut. Tip there is at 6:30. And Wisconsin and Marquette going to meet tomorrow at Fiserv Forum. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heilprin.
Good to have you back. Another hour yet to go. Coming up here in about 15 minutes, our own Mike Clemens, Packer reporter, embed, guru, God among men, stunt man in adult films. Mike Clemens does it all. He's going to be joining us coming up here in just a little bit. Stay tuned for that as we wrap up the final hour of our week-long Packers-Bears Week broadcast. I got an email here. This is from Dwayne, listening to us in Oconomowoc. Says, hey, Unit, thanks for some of the names of some of the scouts. Where can I find the full list? I'd like to know who is scouting for the Green Bay Packers. By the way, you were right. There's a ton of Chinese porn on Twitter.
Goodness.
That's Dwayne in Oconomowoc listening on the Big 920 out of Milwaukee. Dwayne, you can
my God.
right?
The stream of constant Chinese porn is amazing.
And I'll say this. I don't know if it's Chinese porn. I don't know what that writing is. I only looked at it and thought it was Chinese. I could be wrong. I could be stereotyping this whole thing erroneously. So if I am, I apologize. But if you follow, because on Twitter or on TweetDeck, where you can go and follow different hashtags, Bucks, Badgers, Brewers, Packers, all that stuff. In the Bucks page, there's a lot of it. I delete it all every day. Block a lot of them every day, and they just keep popping up. So I don't know. It looks like Chinese porn, but I don't know, just to be clear. All you got to do is just go to the Packers website or just Google it, I guess. You could probably just say Packers scouting department or something like that, and it'll tell you. There's a whole listing on the Packers website of everybody in the front office, and then when you get into the player personnel side, the whole list of scouts is right there. So, if you really want to go in that direction, you can. So, porn bots too, right, John? The porn bots are actually over on I didn't even see it. So thank you for alerting me to the fact over on the Bud Light live stream. They must have heard us talking about them. Came up today. Right there. It happened. Had to block them. There you go. Block a bunch on the daily. Porn bots showing up. This is from Jason listening to us in Door County. He says, if Matt LaFleur insists on keeping Joe Barry, would that be the end of Matt LaFleur? Ooh. If I would have to think yes. That's a great question. If Matt LaFleur would insist on keeping Joe Barry, now, this is the way it would be the end of Matt LaFleur, is if he insists on keeping Joe Barry and Brian Gutekunst wants to say, nah, baby, nah, he's out. He's had a couple of years. It's got progressively worse. I gave him good talent. And what he saw is what we've been seeing is, second and short, third and short, your defense is on the field far too long and you're dying a death by 1,000 cuts rather than big over the top plays. And the aggressiveness just doesn't seem to be there. Yes. And if Brian Gutekunst says Joe Barry's gone and Matt LaFleur says, I will die on that hill and keep Joe Barry, then that could be the beginning of the end for Matt LaFleur. Yes, I would assume so.
What if that same scenario plays out, but the quarterback?
You mean that the quarterback would want to fire or keep Matt LaFleur?
No. In theory, if Matt LaFleur wanted to be taught, like if Matt LaFleur said, no way we could trade Rodgers, but Goody wants to, or vice versa.
I think there's more flexibility there because you're assuming then that the coach is looking at wins and losses and the win and the now, that we can do this. You know, and probably he's been evaluating both sides of talent for a while and knows that wins and losses are, ultimately what's going to get him another contract extension or get him fired. And chances are he's looking at if that happens, he's looking at Jordan Love going, yeah, this guy's not going to get me the wins. And after coming off of a really bad season, we get rid of Aaron Rodgers. I go with Jordan Love, and I'm not winning games again. And we all know this is Goody's first round pick. No, I'm going to be out the door after this. So he could fight for that because he may know something. But it would certainly be a breath of fresh air, wouldn't it? As opposed to the quarterback not being on the same page with the head coach.
The power dynamic within the organization is it's quite fascinating because, as I said yesterday, I think you're not going to find that anywhere else in the NFL.
Maybe in Tampa Bay. Other than that, I don't think you're gonna. When you start to I don't even think Patrick Mahomes carries that kind of swag. You know what I mean?
No, and Andy Reid is at a different stature of coach as LaFleur.
Right.
And Todd Bowles isn't even Bruce Arians. Todd Bowles didn't bring in Rodgers.
Right,
so
right.
Like you would feel that Brady might be definitely above Bowles.
Yeah, I'm trying to think here. Josh Allen, no. For as good as he is, he doesn't have that swag. Dak has a pretty good relationship with Jerry. Mark says, what about Cincinnati? No, Joe Burrow. Nobody's telling the Brown family what to do. Nobody. I will say this, ever since Mike Brown has really relinquished his stronghold on that organization to his kids, who have now kind of taken it over, Katie Brown and the host of others, they've done a lot of really positive things. So even though Mike Brown is technically still the owner and still, quote, in charge, he's passed it along. And because I said my parting shot, my last day on 700 WLW, walking out of Cincinnati before I got hired here and moved into the state of Wisconsin in 1999, was as long as Mike Brown is the owner of that team, they will never win a Super Bowl. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago as he started to, because I don't know how old he is. Mike Brown's been around forever. And because remember that shot of him last year in the owner's suite at SoFi Stadium during the Super Bowl? He looked like a homeless guy broke into the stadium.
He's 87.
He's okay. So yeah, he's 87 years old. So he's kind of relinquished a lot of the power over to the family for that team. But no, Joe Burrow doesn't have that kind of swag. And I really, Patrick Mahomes probably be the only other guy that I could say would carry that kind of. Well, Jason, you're right. He says, what about Deshaun Watson? Because Haslam's an idiot. So Deshaun Watson, I'm sure, has a little bit of say, only for the fact that he's got, $250 million guaranteed. So he's going to have a little bit of say there, and Haslam's an idiot, the owner of that team. So, yeah, there. But that's it. There's nobody else in the National Football League that has the say-so, the power, the knowledge, the ear of the front office now, like Aaron Rodgers does. He's sitting in a premier catbird seat. So that's just, my thought.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between those that make all the money that clearly could have that a coach could go before they go. Mahomes and Deshaun Watson could be two of them, but they don't have the influence in the front office, I figure.
Tidbit says, could you ever see Patrick Mahomes throwing his fists in the air and then screaming at Andy Reid coming off of the field? No, but he got into a shouting match with Eric Bieniemy. Remember that Andy Reid kind of went over and broke up, and Eric Bieniemy is like Andy Reid's right-hand man. So remember, they did get into that argument earlier this year, but it was like immediately. I mean, Patrick Mahomes came out and said, hey, we're just competing. We're screaming at each other because we want to be heard. We're just competing. I mean, he was the first guy to come out and diffuse it. He didn't go, well, it gets heated on the sideline. He didn't give us any deeply philosophical crap. He just came out and said, nope, nothing to see here. Go away. We just love competing. And then just kind of like, I love this guy. I love his innovation. I love working with Andy and Eric. And I mean, he went on and on and on about it. So that was a highlight on Good Morning Football and Get Up and on ESPN and all that, and Fox. That was a highlight that morning, and by the afternoon, it was diffused. It was done. There was nothing more to see here. Please move on. He did a great job at it. This was from Ari, who says, shout out, unit, you need one of those big TNF hats. Did you see the big Thursday Night Football hats they wear, the big baseball cap to the winner that they give out after the game, Ben?
I was far asleep by that point, but I've seen pictures.
I
very much against it.
I am not a big hat fan. If I did get a big hat, though, I most likely would wear it. I don't know where, but I think I would. I don't know where, but I think I would. I think I would have. I'd probably wear it like going to restaurants. And if you remember, there was an episode of The Big Bang Theory where Raj walks into the comic book store and he's got the sweater on that's got a speaker in the middle of it. And he's got the little controller and he's playing this ominous music and he's announcing his presence with authority. I'd do that. I'd walk into restaurants and stuff with that big ass hat on, maybe speakers sticking out of the hat. I'd do that.
I didn't take you as a Big Bang Theory guy.
Oh, I love Big Bang Theory.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. Big Bang Theory all over the joint. Big time. As a matter of fact, that's because there's like things that I turn on at night when I go to bed that I listen to and watch and all that kind of stuff. And that's one of them. So I'll turn that on. Some of this stuff is older, just because it's mindless. But I'm not a person I will sit down and like watch like Datelines and such. Stuff like that. But beyond that, I'm usually kind of the Big Bang Theory guy, or I used to watch like Seinfeld, Cheers, just sitcoms that are mindless that make me laugh or giggle a little bit. It's just easy to just kind of turn them on and drift. There you go. I just, for those that didn't see it, I posted it over on Twitter. I just tweeted it. I'm liking a big hat. Big Thursday Night Football hat. There you go. See that?
God.
I'd wear that in a restaurant.
No, it's ridiculous.
I'd be like, I'll have a hamburger and a Bud Light. And then I would have announced my presence with authority. I want a speaker out of the top of it, though, so I could play music.
You're already taller than everybody, So then what's the point of the hat?
That would make me like 9 feet 2, though. That'd be awesome, man. That'd be awesome. If I could find some some Kiss style boots where they would add another 5 to 6 inches of height to me. Oh, I'd be like Shaq walking through the door. It'd be great. Oh, 877-867-6070. Let's do this. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. Mike Clemens is going to join us. We got to bring Mike in, and we'll kind of wrap up through the next 3 segments, our Packers-Bears week preview. Do not forget, again, we are going to be Sheraton Grand Hotel in the Riverwalk coming up this weekend down in Chicago. Come on by and say hello. It's the Green and Gold postgame show. Nobody gives it to you better. Mike Clemens going to be live from inside Soldier Field. We're going to the game. Then afterwards, I'm booking over. I'll be setting up and doing the program right there inside the Shy Bar, inside the Sheraton Hotel. Come on by and say hello. We would love to have you. Shake a hand. Maybe we'll even imbibe a little bit together before it's all said and done. But come on by and say hello. It's all brought to you by Bud Light. It's the Green and Gold postgame show right here on many of these same network stations and on our great partners with Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch TV, Spotify, Apple iTunes, and on Google Podcasts as well. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Wisconsin isn't snobby, snooty, or pretentious. It's Midwestern charm at its finest. And that's exactly what Forgotten Fire Winery in Peshtigo is all about. Fun in a bottle without the attitude. You can find their full wine and cider lineup in their tasting room or in liquor and grocery stores throughout the state. The winery is a great place to get away for wine, music, and all year long. Anytime is a great time for Forgotten Fire wines and ciders. Wisconsin wine made from Wisconsin people.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
My sweet home, Chicago.
Rogers snaps it quick. Pressure coming. Scrambles to his right. Pumps and runs. Aaron Rodgers is inside the pylon. Touchdown Packers. It's Rodgers running for the score.
Right on cue, Joe. He had some choice words there for the crowd.
Sometimes you black out on the field. In a good way. I looked up in the stands, and in the front row, all I saw was a woman giving me the double bird. I'm not sure exactly what came out of my mouth next.
There you go. I own you. I still own you. Love Sweet Home Chicago, though, by the Blues Brothers. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Good to have him back. Our buddy Mike Clemens now joining us on the hotline. And Mike, that is something I'm sure every Bears fan remembers. They're never going to forget until Aaron Rodgers is completely gone and out of the Green Bay Packers organization, right?
I got news for you, Billy. The Chicago Bears don't forget either.
Yep.
We talked to Jalen Johnson. He's a defensive back. He remembers the "I still own you," Aaron yelling that up in the south end zone. And so he was asked yesterday, do you ever think that Aaron Rodgers would sit out a Bears game with a rib injury or a thumb injury?
I mean, I never had a doubt he wasn't going to play. I mean, he's that type of guy. He's always going to find a way to get in there and play, especially a game like this, the rivalry game. And, I mean, he's a talker. Honestly, I mean, he just, like he said, last time he came here, he was saying he owned us and talking to the fans a certain way. So, I mean, he's just a real fierce competitor. And I feel like at the end of the day, we got to find a way to get that taste out of our mouth as well. I mean, you gotta put it in action to be able to stop a talker like that.
You like playing fierce competitors?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, nah, he's a good one. He's one of the best in the league for sure at talking and backing it up.
So, Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he knows what he said and how he said it and who he said it to. And I mean, this has always been something meaningful to him going way back, even before he was the starter under center.
Well, players are always trying not to put up bulletin board material, but this thing is classic. And we're standing at Aaron's locker, frankly, because we're thinking about all the things that this 4-8 Packers team are looking at with injuries and who's going to play and who can and how Rodgers is going to do this. Should Jordan Love do this? And I'm standing and say, wait, this is our first time back to Soldier Field, right? Since the I own you. Sam?
Right.
So that's why when Aaron came to his locker, I asked him this question.
It's your first time back since you had that little confrontation in the south end zone, and some of the women and their gestures. I mean, is that another?
And men too. Yeah, men too. Now, let's not blame everything on the women, okay? Come on. Start with the Bible, all right?
Probably want to put another chapter in that and playing at Soldier Field.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the rivalry over the years and been a part of a ton of these games. I think I've, been in 18 years plus a playoff game. This is the 37th, I'll be a part of, and I've enjoyed all of them. It's a great rivalry. Been around for a long, long time. Happy to be on this side of it, but a lot of good memories at Soldier Field.
Mike, look, obviously Aaron Rodgers, loves playing against the Bears and loves the rivalry side of things. You're just not playing for a whole lot right now other than just trying to stay mathematically alive. So I know that there's been a lot of talk this week about, well, if you lose this game or if all of a sudden you're eliminated, what next? But, there's a lot of talk about that for a guy that really does want to go back and just play against the Bears and see if they can't stay, kind of in the hunt, so to speak.
Right. Fans are saying, well, what's the best thing that the team should do? So they're thinking, well, hey, let Jordan Love get 4 or 5 games experience. Let's get a look at this guy. Let's see what we got here. I think there's fans that are bought tickets to this game in Soldier Field that would probably rather see Aaron Rodgers play because this is the plan. They don't see backups playing in the game. The other thing is, though, you should be asking these teams always try to win games, not tank. This is not preseason here. In the first weekend of December. And so what gives you the best chance to win? Now, some people might say after watching Jordan Love the other night, maybe number 10 is better than 12, a banged up Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love did just enough to make you want more with his only 10 snaps. So, we asked Rodgers, should Jordan Love be allowed to play in the final 5 games of the season?
So look, I'd love to finish the season out and, but I understand, this is a business and, there's a lot of us kind of older guys who, play a decent amount who they might want to see some younger guys play. So, hopefully we don't have to have that conversation, but if that conversation comes up, I'll approach that with an open mind and without any bitterness or resentment, obviously, like I said, I want to win out and we don't have to have those conversations, but, I understand if we don't, that's a possibility to have that conversation.
The fact that the last few games, Mike, at least we've seen a team that has fought. It's not a team that's given up. I mean, certainly the defense at times looked rather pathetic, but at least you're starting to see a little more offense, a little more excitement, a little more flow, a little more rhythm. But you're still, this team was meant to win or at least win early, be up by a couple of scores, then have a defense pin their ears back and get after it. And you're finding yourself as the Packers go down early in these contests and then having to battle back.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Standing there talking to Rodgers, I'm thinking, what is this like for this guy to be in his shoes at these games as the quarterback? I remember Favre said that in his last few years, like, I'm tired of everybody thinking I'm supposed to put on some Superman cape and come from behind to win these games. It'd be nice if we were up every once in a while.
Right.
And so there's Aaron Rodgers in Philadelphia looking at the scoreboard. They're not even out of the first quarter yet, and he's down 13-0 with a younger team, a beat up team. He's got a young offensive line. Jalen Hurts has got we talked about this a month ago about how that Eagles offensive line, most of those guys are 28, 30, 32 years old. So I asked Rodgers that. I said, well, what do you think when you're standing there looking at the scoreboard and here you are, where it's the Buffalo game or now the Philadelphia game, and you're down 13-0. But I said, do you think your team is getting any better at battling back as the season has gone on?
I mean, maybe. I always think in those situations, there's a lot of time left, a lot of ball left. Obviously, maybe the urgency goes up a tad, but we were able to put together a good drive and score, and then after Key had a nice return, and then 4th and 1 stop, and next thing you know, it's 14-13. It's a whole different ball game. So a good reminder for us. There's been certain games where we've only had 3 possessions in the first half, and I think we had 3 or 4 possessions in the first quarter. So we knew that game was kind of going to be like that, even though they ran the ball a bunch and ate some clock. We're going to have opportunities to go down and score. I felt, we felt good offensively. Just the conversation, the huddle during the TV timeouts that, they hadn't really stopped us. We'd only stopped ourselves with a couple of silly plays by me. We felt really confident, and I think that was good growth for us, but it doesn't really matter if you're not winning.
Mike, the question, I thought it was really interesting. They were talking about the run game, and this continually comes up when you start to talk about because I know the thumb was an issue, so therefore he wasn't under center as much. They were running some out of shotgun, but there was also a question about the offense being better from under the gun because Aaron Rodgers is so good via play action, and you have to account for that and such. I know that came up a little bit this week.
I know that Aaron Rodgers, whether he's healthy or not, he likes to stand back there in the shotgun. It's fewer steps. He can get a better view of the field pre-snap, which is important to him. He just wants to stand back there in the shotgun and throw all night long. However, we know if you're running the LaFleur offense and you're trying to change the eyes on the linebackers, that starts with misdirection coming out from behind the center when you're underneath the center. Here's the other thing, though. I thought this was a brilliant observation from Tom Silverstein from the Journal-Sentinel. He said, watch A.J. Dillon in some of those runs in the Eagles game. When Rodgers is in shotgun, it's like it's easier for those linebackers to key on Dillon. Dillon, unlike Aaron Jones, who just is a rocket, A.J. Dillon needs 2-3 steps to get going, that steamroller, before he can start just running over people. And so he noticed that when Aaron Rodgers is under center and has to come back, that gives A.J. Dillon those 2 or 3 steps to get up to full steam when he hits the line. And, this is where, when this offense has struggled this year, you got a first-year offensive coordinator in the NFL. It's not like he's been an offensive coordinator in college. A young guy, and Adam Stanovich. He'd been your offensive line coordinator. He's still got a young head coach. Are these guys seeing that? And LaFleur was asked that question. Wait, would it be better on the A.J. Dillon runs that the quarterback is under center?
Yeah, no, and I think in instances, I think it's so dependent each and every week on who you're playing, what the plan is in that regard. But certainly I've got confidence whether we're in the gun or under center with him. I do think there's probably some things he does a little bit better than others, just like most players. And that's our responsibility as coaches to try to get those guys in those situations so that they can really accentuate their strengths.
Let's do this. We're towards the bottom of the hour. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We got Mike Clemens on board. We got a couple of segments yet to go. A lot of discussion. Packers-Bears week. Reminder coming up immediately following the game on Sunday. Mike Clemens and I, we're going to be in Chicago. It is the Green and Gold postgame show live from the Shy Bar inside the Sheraton Grand Riverwalk Hotel down in Chicago. Come on by and say hello. It's the Green and Gold postgame show live immediately after every Packers game, but we're going to be live in Chicago this coming weekend. Stay tuned. We got more after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's a hell of a question. That's a hell of a question. We're not going to go down that road. So again, if I thought there was an issue there, then I would certainly we'd make the change. But we work as a staff and collectively, we're all in this sucker together. And it's never just one person. It starts with myself, and then it goes to our assistant coaches, and then our players, and we're all in this together. And it's not just one person. I don't know. That was by far our worst tackling performance that I've seen.
He doesn't want to address it again. Will you fire Joe Barry? No. Maybe not in season, but man, oh man. There is a lot to talk about come after the season for Joe Barry. And Joe Barry, the defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers, we just heard from him a little while ago. You can't get past the tenacity. You can't get past what looked to be a beatdown defense. The fact that just the fundamentals of tackling suddenly escaped them. And I know Joe Barry Mike kept going, well, 50 attempts. I mean, as if to justify 22 missed tackles because they ran the ball so much. I wanted to gouge my eyes out at that point.
Matt LaFleur wanted to move on from Mike Pettin, and his first guy that he talked to was Jim Leonhard from the Badgers. And Jim's wife loves their life in Sun Prairie, the family there, the university situation, and they opted to stay with Wisconsin. And it looked like, he was going to get that head coaching job, but that changed. Great interview with Matt Lepay today, by the way. Appreciated that.
Thank you.
And so then LaFleur, he also talked to that guy that ended up going to the Broncos as defensive coordinator. So he called on Joe Barry, a guy that he'd worked with at Washington Redskins and the Rams. Now, Joe he's been up and down, but he's a dedicated football guy. When he first got to Green Bay, he was so much more warmer and made connections with the players. They were calling him Joe B. But you got into this season, and Jair Alexander seemed to want to freelance, didn't understand what the scheme was against the Vikings. And now Joe Barry's also lost. He's lost his best pass rusher in Rashawn Gary. I saw Eric Stokes, his fastest corner, in a wheelchair yesterday at his locker because the right leg is all bandaged up after apparently some surgeries and those kinds of things. So, he's lost some of those players, but it doesn't seem like the guy either makes corrections or seems to understand what adjustments teams are making on him. And so he was asked, this is the thing. LaFleur may say, Bill, we're not going to make any changes. But when the head coach comes out 5 minutes later and says, we had 22 missed tackles in the game against the Eagles, a game that we had 10 days to prepare for after the mini-bye, after the Thursday night, Titans game. And so the reporter asked Joe Barry, I don't think I've ever seen a head coach say that a team had 22 missed tackles. Here's what Joe said.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was a lot of, I don't know if I've ever played a game that there was 50 runs, so, but it was, and that's the thing. It wasn't, one guy. It was, it was everybody, missing 1, 2, 3. So it was just, it was a bad deal. And, that's the only thing that I know to do. And what we do as a coaching staff here is that, we got right back to the fundamentals and the details of it. And, as we've talked about many times in here, both when we've been tackling well and, when we have a poor performance tackling, you just got to go back to the basics and the fundamentals in practice and an individual. As we've said, you don't tackle live at any point during the year other than, the games that you play. So we try to create those scenarios for guys as best we can, try to create drills that are as realistic, but you can't create anything realistic to, tackling Jalen Hurts until, you got to go tackle him. So, it was a bad deal, but, we went right back to work this week and working on the details, working on keeping leverage on the ball, we talk about population to the ball, as many hats to the ball. When you're dealing with a great player, if you do miss a tackle, you got that second, third, fourth, fifth guy there, just relentless effort to the ball. So, but yeah, it was a bad display of tackling, no doubt about it.
Mike, it is beyond belief to me when he says you do not tackle in season. Yeah. I know there's only so many padded practices and hitting practices and that kind of stuff. I get it. But when you are that fundamentally inept, man, you got to figure something. I mean, I know he talks about drills. Well, there's nothing we can do until we're on the field, but there's got to be something that just gives guys a different pep in their step and a different tenacity, man. Wow. The excuses for what they can't do is amazing.
So I don't think a defensive coordinator, Bill, in the National Football League has to justify his job in a press conference. But I don't think if he's got solutions, he doesn't have to deal that card. But this guy's not even pointing out the problems. And it's his MO at these press conferences to compliment everybody. He compliments all his players. He compliments the opposition. He, talks about all of their great talents. And at the end of the day, if Bill Belichick only says yes and no at his press conferences, the fact is, if he has a bad game, it gets fixed the next week. And I don't think anyone could say that the Packers defense seems to be fixing things or improving week after week. They get flashes from Keyshawn Nixon and Rudy Ford, and that's great. So then here's the other question. It's just like, what, as a defensive coordinator, forget about whether it's morale or effort and LaFleur says that these guys are in position pre-snap. So what happens after the snap? I don't get it. But LaFleur was basically asked, what do you think you could do better as a defensive coordinator in Green Bay?
When it goes this way for a defense with such high expectations, obviously a lot of responsibility, right or wrong, is put on the coordinator. We're not behind the scenes, but I'm curious what you think have maybe been your shortcomings in this season or things that you might have done differently if you could go back and start the season again.
Oh, I am a process-driven person. And one thing that about me is that I'm all about consistency. I'm going to show up exactly the same way every single day. And I'm going to preach the things that I believe in. I'm going to bring energy every single day. And the last thing that I'll ever do is second guess anything. Of course, there's sometimes that, definitely throughout a game, for example, you wish you have a specific callback. But as far as second guessing things, I'm not wired or built that way. I believe in this group still. I believe in our process, the way we prepare. And sometimes, in a process, the results aren't going to be what you want. And then you just got to go back to the drawing board and you just got to work a little bit harder. You got to, maybe stress a few things a little bit differently. But as far as the process and those things that I believe in, that's never wavered with me.
I guess the bright spot coming out of the Eagles game, Mike, is that we continually see Keyshawn Nixon become some kind of a return specialist and really more. You and I talked about it last week. Like, where was this guy? Why did they not know he was on the roster?
5 returns for 172 yards against the Eagles. He had one that was kind of muffed. And now here's the difference. Here's the point and counterpoint. You talk to Rich Bisaccia, your special teams coordinator, say, hey, there was some great stuff there, but how come your guy is returning some of those kicks 5-6 yards deep? And you hear the coach and the head coach both explain. They give you an example. They don't give you the playbook, but they give an example on one play as to what their philosophy is. Here's Bisaccia.
We have some parameters going into the game. Now, we got into that game and, we just felt like we were blocking them pretty good and thought we could help set our offense in that situation, in that game. And so we moved the parameters back a little bit, if you will. But it's a learning curve for him as well. I think we lined up way over to the one side on one and they dropped it in there over on the right, so he's got to understand where to line up on some of the different calls. But there are parameters going into the game. They can change as the game goes on.
We had a lot of confidence going into it. I think Rich told me we were going to be aggressive, and we were like, go for it. So, yeah, no, our whole return unit did a great job of making their blocks and creating space, and then Keyshawn was hitting the right hole. It can get opportunities, but, one a game would be great.
Well, you'd like to be able to say that that's going to be something that's consistent because at least special teams have come on and played better as the season has gone on, Mike, no doubt.
So the Bears, even though they've depleted and they're rebuilding and they're giving up some players, Matt Eberflus is a defensive coordinator from the Colts. He's their head coach. He brought in what he calls the HITS principle, which stands for hustle, intensity, takeaways, and playing smart. But, Justin Jones is one of their defensive linemen, and he was talking about, Rodgers is out there with the sore ribs. Are you surprised that he's going to be in this game?
That's not my problem. That's not my problem.
And you know because you know.
Just to hit him. Exactly. So everybody, he know like I know, like y'all know. That's just what it is. You got to hit him. If we don't, it's gonna be a long day. If we do, it's gonna be in our favor. That's the plan.
Are you excited that you're gonna be playing Rodgers instead of Jordan Love?
For sure. I want him to be out there. I feel like you can't play this game against Green Bay and not have a type of anger. You just got to remember what it was like you taking that L back in Lambeau Field. You got to remember what that feeling was when we walking off the field, going into our locker room, what the fans were saying and chanting and laughing at us when we was walking in. You have to remember that. I don't forget.
I know I heard one of your reports earlier this week, Mike, with Cole Kmet, the tight end for the Bears. And that's a guy that's like, hey, he can own us all he wants, but they're circling this one, man. They want to get back at Rodgers, no doubt.
They got nothing else to do. They're 3-9. The Packers are 4-8, and this might actually turn up the heat on the rivalry. This is their Super Bowl. Again, Kmet grows up in Arlington Heights, a Chicago suburb. As a Bears fan, he's living the dream as a tight end. He's articulate. I mean, if this guy ever gets a Super Bowl ring, he's the next Ditka down there. And he talked about the rivalry.
Yeah, I think, regardless, you can throw records out of the window for these type of games. This is the biggest rivalry in the NFL, most historic. Obviously this game, I grew up watching this game, and this game means a lot to me. So regardless of where either team is at in the season at this point, like, this is a big game. And you feel that, in the locker room, regardless of the records of each team. So I'm looking forward to it. And, like you said, it's a good opportunity to break a losing streak here and kind of feel good about yourselves going into the bye week.
Even for guys that aren't, haven't been fully entrenched for years and years and years in this thing, they kind of get it. I mean, some of the younger guys, they get it. Rivalries are rivalries. You're automatically kind of born into it when you come to a franchise. Yeah,
and that's what Alan Lazard had to say. Your Packers wide receiver. He grew up in Iowa around the Des Moines, and he was asked, Bears are 3-9, Packers are 4-8. What do you think of the Bears-Packers game as a rivalry?
I think they're super awesome, especially this one. The Packers-Bears is so historical, over 100 years. The winner of this game will be the winningest franchise in NFL history. So there's a lot at stake. Obviously there's still some hope for us and everything going into this game. So we just got to go out there and execute.
Let's do this. We'll step away, take a quick break, come back, wrap things up with Mike Clemens. By the way, Justin Fields, no injury designation today, and he was a full participant in practice. He will play this Sunday against the Green Bay Packers. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. Another full segment to go right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 I need a window.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it 2 years later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Pella now, pay later.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
License for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Jordan Love. 37. Here he is throwing in the middle. It's caught by Watson. He's got great speed. Turning the corner. Christian Watson down the sideline. And he will score. Whoa. Hang on. Love to Watson. To a one-score game.
Take a lot of pride in my speed. I think that's a big part of my game. So, anytime I can create a little bit of separation and, just get that edge, obviously there's opportunity for big plays.
Glad to have you back. A reminder, it's the Green and Gold postgame show live down in Chicago at the Sheraton Hotel and in the Shy Bar. I'm going to be there. Mike Clemens down there as well. We're going to be at Soldier Field catching the Packers and the Bears, and all the reaction coming afterwards live at the Shy Bar inside the Sheraton Grand Riverwalk Hotel coming up on Sunday. It's the Green and Gold postgame show. Mike Clemens joining me now for the final segment of the program of the week. And Mike, Christian Watson has certainly, getting the nod as the offensive player, the rookie offensive player of the month. Nice honor for him, man. And well-deserved. It's like all of a sudden the switch flipped,
Exactly. And I thought Aaron Rodgers made a great point the other day. So when's the last time you saw a guy just go from nothing to superstar? He said, remember when James Starks flashed, late in the season when they needed him in the Super Bowl year in a game, ironically, in Philadelphia. Christian Watson has been very respectful, but in his shell for 6 months because of the uncertainty, the injuries. And they gets this award, and now he's had 3 good games in a row, and he's come out of his shell. And we asked him, when you got that first touchdown, the 58-yarder against the Cowboys, and then you did the backflip in the air, in midair, in the end zone. Why did you turn back and look at all your other teammates first?
It was nothing crazy right there. I actually turned around just to make sure no one was behind me, so I could do the backflip. I didn't want to do a backflip and have someone coming in, and that would have been bad. But when you're in that situation, everything kind of slows down. So I was really kind of just obviously with the celebration, I was just soaking it all in. The plays happen so fast. Everything kind of slows down, and after the fact. So I was just soaking it all in.
I think that's called veteran savvy, right? Making sure you don't backflip into somebody.
Something like that. But I definitely did not want to do a flip and land on somebody that would have been bad.
Yeah, and the other thing, the minute he did it, I'm like, oh my God, don't get hurt. This is a guy coming back off of a lower body injury, man. I don't pull anything, don't strain anything, don't snap anything. Oh my goodness, don't do that.
Smart kid. So Bill, we're going to get a typical Packers-Bears game. It'll be sloppy, but I think this one's going to be a brawl. And people think, both these teams, what's in it? The Bears are probably just going to be quitters. No, the Bears are coming off a game at MetLife Field with another one of these turf fields where they lost 2 of their best players. Eddie Jackson with a foot injury, the safety. Darnell Mooney, their best wide receiver. He's out with a knee, for the rest of the season. Got to have an ankle. Needs to have surgery on it. And so you asked a veteran defensive back, DeAndre Houston Carson, about, when you're 3-9, what are you playing for in this game?
My safeties coach, Andre Curtis, he says a lot of times he doesn't like talking about winning and losing because you can't control that. You got to do the things conducive to winning. And so I find the process of that fun, trying to work on my craft. I find fun. I find my teammates who I enjoy being around. Because, at the end of the day, this is life. It's bigger than football. When we go and we pass, who really cares about anything other than the impact you've made around, people around you, right? Obviously, you want to do good. You want to excel in your job, but, it's fun to be around people you love and try to build relationships. That's fun. And then the game of football is fun. Even, win, lose, there's something in there that you had a good time. You hit somebody or, one of your teammates made a good play. You get to celebrate each other. That's fun.
Well, I know that not only is it fun, but you're getting paid a lot of money to play it. And in addition to that, it's a rivalry week. So, Mike, I'm looking forward to it. Our trip down there is always a blast. And we'll be joined again tomorrow at the hotel, and then obviously on Sunday for the Green and Gold postgame show.
So it looks like it's going to be Justin Fields against Aaron Rodgers. Bakhtiari didn't practice today, but let's hope that's just a rest. And yeah, the Bears have got some pretty good players on that defense. 93 is Justin Jones. Jack Sanborn is at linebacker, 57. And the former Packer Mike Pennell, he's out there for the Bears too. I think we're going to get an interesting game on Sunday.
Mike, good stuff, buddy. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you.
See you in Chicago, Billy.
There you go. That's our buddy Mike Clemens. Good stuff from him. And the next time you hear Mike and I together, we are going to be live. We're going to be in Chicago. Inside the Shy Bar, Sheridan Hotel, Grand Sheridan Hotel, Riverwalk in downtown Chicago. So if you see us walking around Chicago, come over, say hi. We'll share a Kevlar vest or something like that. Be good to go. So, hang in there. We'll be back at it again Sunday afternoon. Hopefully you can join us right here. Until we talk again and until we see you downtown Chicago, time to have a good one. Time to maybe tip one back or two.